Discussion on verses 1 to 24 of 24. Allah, the Exalted, opens this chapter by directing attention to a universal reality that constantly surrounds every person, the perfect balance, order, and harmony present throughout creation. This harmony is neither accidental nor self-sustaining. Rather, it exists solely because every created thing submits completely and unconditionally to the command and will of Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 1.
Whatever is in the heavens, and whatever is on the earth glorifies Allah.
Reflection upon the universe makes this truth unmistakably clear. The sun rises and sets with precise consistency, providing light, warmth, and the essential conditions required for life. The moon follows fixed phases that regulate natural cycles. The planets remain within their defined orbits, without deviation or collision. The stars, galaxies, and countless celestial bodies move in flawless coordination across vast distances and immeasurable spans of time. Despite the unimaginable scale and complexity of the universe, no disorder threatens its stability. This remarkable consistency is a direct result of creation's complete obedience to Allah, the Exalted. The same principle applies to the earth and everything within it. The atmosphere maintains the exact composition necessary for breathing and sustaining life. The human body continuously performs countless internal processes without conscious effort. The oceans, winds, rainfall, and ecosystems all function according to precise systems established by Allah, the Exalted. Every created thing fulfills its assigned role without resistance, thereby preserving universal balance and harmony. In contrast, mankind has been granted free will. This unique gift allows a person to choose whether to obey or disobey Allah, the Exalted. As a result, the imbalance, confusion, stress, and disorder experienced in human life do not arise from any deficiency in divine guidance, but from turning away from it. When a person follows their limited desires instead of divine guidance, imbalance inevitably occurs, because human knowledge, foresight, and understanding are inherently incomplete. Therefore, the harmony observed throughout creation serves both as a sign and as a lesson. It demonstrates that balance, peace, and stability are the natural outcomes of obedience to Allah, the Exalted. Just as the sun, moon, and all created things achieve harmony through submission, a person can only attain true balance within their mental, physical, and spiritual state through sincere obedience to Him. When a person uses the blessings granted to them in ways that please Allah, the Exalted, as outlined in the Holy Quran and the teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, their life becomes structured and balanced. Their priorities become clear, their decisions become guided by wisdom instead of impulse, and they correctly place everything and everyone within their life. This obedience removes inner conflict, reduces anxiety, and establishes stability, because the person relies upon the perfect knowledge and guidance of Allah, the Exalted, rather than their limited personal judgment. This sincere obedience also ensures that the person prepares properly for their accountability on the Day of Judgment, strengthening their sense of purpose and direction. As a result, they attain tranquility in this world through inner balance and peace, and they attain eternal safety and reward in the hereafter. Thus, the harmony visible throughout creation is not merely an observable phenomenon, but a clear indication of the path that leads to true and lasting peace. An essential aspect of obeying Allah, the Exalted, as indicated in this verse, is to glorify Him properly. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 1.
Whatever is in the heavens, and whatever is on the earth glorifies Allah.
True glorification requires recognizing the absolute greatness, wisdom, and perfection of Allah, the Exalted, in every situation. Since nothing occurs except by His will, including trials, losses, and hardships, glorifying Him requires refraining from attributing injustice or negativity to Him. Instead, a person must firmly believe that every decree of Allah, the Exalted, contains wisdom and benefit, even when its purpose is not immediately apparent. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 1.
And He is the Exalted in might, the wise.
A vital part of glorifying Allah, the Exalted, is developing a constructive and faithful mindset. This mindset does not deny hardship, nor does it ignore pain. Rather, it enables a person to recognize the wisdom behind events and remain obedient during both ease and difficulty. When hardships occur, a person should reflect that the situation could have been more severe. If the trial concerns worldly loss, they should remain grateful that their faith remains intact, since spiritual loss is far more serious. When certain blessings are taken away, they should focus on the countless blessings that remain. Gratitude during hardship strengthens faith and prevents despair. Regular reflection upon the wisdom of Allah, the Exalted, nurtures this balanced perspective. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 216.
But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows while you know not.
This verse teaches that what appears harmful may contain hidden benefit, protection, or spiritual growth, while what appears desirable may ultimately cause harm or distraction. Accepting this reality protects the heart from despair, resentment, and confusion. Ultimately, maintaining a faithful and constructive mindset is itself an act of glorifying Allah, the Exalted. It allows a person to face life's changes with patience, gratitude, and trust in His wisdom. Through consistent reflection and sincere obedience, faith becomes stronger, certainty increases, and inner peace develops. This perspective allows a person to recognize that every situation contains wisdom, opportunity, and blessing from Allah, the Exalted, leading them toward lasting tranquility in both this world and the hereafter. In the 4th year after the migration of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, to Medina, he visited the Jewish tribe known as Banu Nadir. This tribe had previously entered into a pact of mutual peace and cooperation with him, which included obligations of support in certain matters. On this occasion, he approached them to request financial assistance in accordance with the terms of their agreement. Outwardly, they responded in a cooperative and reassuring manner, indicating their willingness to assist. However, behind this facade of loyalty, they secretly conspired to assassinate him. Their plan involved dropping a heavy stone upon him while he was seated near one of their dwellings, believing that their act of treachery would go unnoticed and unpunished. Before they could carry out their plot, Allah the Exalted informed the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, of their betrayal through divine revelation. Immediately recognizing the danger, he calmly and wisely departed from their area and returned safely to Medina, thereby avoiding their treacherous scheme without confrontation. This event demonstrated not only the protection granted to him by Allah, the Exalted, but also exposed the depth of hypocrisy and betrayal present within those who outwardly claimed peace while inwardly harboring hostility. After returning to Medina, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, sent a clear and firm message to the Banu Nadir, informing them that due to their violation of the peace agreement and their attempted assassination, they could no longer remain under his protection or within the territory of Medina. They were instructed to leave peacefully within a specified period. At this stage, the hypocrites of Medina attempted to manipulate the situation by encouraging the Banu Nadir to resist and promising military support. They falsely assured them that they would stand beside them if conflict arose, thereby giving the Banu Nadir false confidence and encouraging defiance. Relying upon these empty promises, the Banu Nadir initially prepared for resistance, believing their fortified dwellings and alliances would protect them. However, when the situation became serious and confrontation became imminent, the hypocrites abandoned them entirely, exposing their cowardice and insincerity. Deprived of the support they had relied upon, and realizing the futility of resistance, the Banu Nadir lost hope and requested mercy. They appealed to the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, asking that their lives be spared and that they be allowed to leave peacefully with their possessions. Despite their treachery and attempted assassination, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, did not seek revenge. Instead, he demonstrated remarkable restraint, mercy, and justice. He permitted them to leave safely, allowing them to take whatever belongings they could carry, with the exception of weapons. This response reflected his noble character, as he chose justice and mercy over vengeance, even toward those who had plotted to take his life. This historical account is recorded by the great scholar Imam Ibn Kathir in his work, The Life of the Prophet, Volume 3, pages 100 to 101. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 2.
It is he who expelled the ones who disbelieved among the people of the Scripture from their homes at the first expulsion. You did not think they would leave, and they thought that their fortresses would protect them from Allah, but Allah came upon them from where they had not expected, and He cast terror into their hearts, so they destroyed their houses by their own hands and the hands of the believers.
This serves as a powerful warning for all people. When a person persistently disobeys Allah, the Exalted, by misusing the blessings granted to them, they must not be deceived by temporary worldly success. Wealth, status, influence, and apparent stability can create a false sense of invulnerability, leading a person to believe they are beyond accountability. However, consequences are inevitable, even if they are delayed or not immediately recognized. The absence of immediate punishment does not indicate approval, nor does it mean accountability has been escaped. Rather, it may be a period of respite granted as part of a greater test. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 2.
And they thought that their fortresses would protect them from Allah, but Allah came upon them from where they had not expected.
In this world, persistent disobedience produces internal consequences long before external punishment becomes visible. A person who misuses blessings gradually loses inner peace and stability. Their mental and emotional state becomes unbalanced, and they begin to misplace priorities, relationships, and responsibilities. The very things that were meant to be sources of comfort and support, such as family, friendships, wealth, and career, become sources of stress, anxiety, and dissatisfaction. Instead of recognizing the true spiritual cause of their distress, they often blame external factors and innocent people within their lives. This misdirection can lead them to damage their own lives further. They may sever beneficial relationships, isolate themselves from sincere support, and pursue harmful coping mechanisms. Their condition worsens gradually, leading to emotional instability, depression, destructive habits, and profound inner emptiness. In this way, they contribute to their own destruction. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 2.
And He cast terror into their hearts, so they destroyed their houses by their own hands.
This destruction is not limited to physical homes. It also includes the destruction of inner peace, emotional stability, relationships, and spiritual well-being. A person's own choices, driven by disobedience and misuse of blessings, become the cause of their suffering. This reality can be clearly observed throughout human society. Many individuals who possess immense wealth, fame, and worldly success still suffer from anxiety, dissatisfaction, and inner turmoil. Their external appearance of success conceals internal instability and distress. Their material possessions cannot provide the peace that comes only through obedience to Allah, the Exalted. More importantly, if such a person persists in disobedience without repentance, their failure to prepare for their accountability on Judgment Day will result in consequences far more severe and far more lasting than any worldly hardship. Worldly punishment is temporary, but the consequences of the hereafter are permanent. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verses 2-3.
So take warning, O people of vision. And if not that Allah had decreed for them evacuation, He would have punished them in this world, and for them in the hereafter is the punishment of the fire.
These verses serve as a powerful reminder against falling into a self-absorbed way of life, where one's attention becomes confined only to personal circumstances, ambitions, and immediate concerns while ignoring the greater realities unfolding around them. Such a restricted outlook gradually weakens spiritual awareness and blinds the heart from recognizing the deeper wisdom contained within historical events, personal hardships, and the observable consequences of human behavior. When a person fails to reflect, they become more vulnerable to repeating the same errors that led others to loss, regret, or destruction. In contrast, sincere reflection nurtures humility, strengthens awareness of one's dependence upon Allah, the Exalted, and helps a person maintain perspective regarding the temporary nature of worldly conditions. Reflecting upon these lessons is one of the most effective means of refining character, strengthening emotional balance, and cultivating inner stability. It enables a person to avoid repeated mistakes and to develop a balanced mental and physical state by correctly placing priorities, relationships, and worldly pursuits in their proper position. For example, observing how some of the wealthy and renowned misuse the blessings granted to them, only to be overtaken by anxiety, depression, addiction, or even suicide despite possessing comfort and influence, demonstrates that genuine tranquility cannot be purchased through wealth or secured by satisfying every desire. This observation exposes the illusion that external success alone guarantees inner peace, and instead highlights that peace originates from inner alignment, gratitude, and mindful living. Likewise, witnessing illness, weakness, or sudden loss in others should awaken gratitude for one's own health, strength, and opportunities, while motivating their proper and meaningful use before they inevitably diminish. The Holy Quran therefore repeatedly calls people to observe, reflect, and derive wisdom from the rise and fall of individuals and societies. It encourages people to move beyond a narrow and isolated view of their own lives, and instead recognize the broader patterns that govern human existence. Through this reflective mindset, a person becomes more cautious, grateful, and purposeful, and is better able to avoid heedlessness, arrogance, and false security. Ultimately, Islam emphasizes that true vision is not merely physical sight, but the ability to perceive lessons, recognize warnings, and adjust one's life accordingly, thereby attaining lasting peace, stability, and success in both this world and the life to come. The one who adopts a correct and perceptive outlook, whereby they sincerely reflect upon the lives of those who came before, and carefully observe the condition of those around them, will inevitably arrive at a profound and undeniable conclusion. They will recognize that disobeying Allah, the Exalted, by misusing the blessings He has granted never leads to true benefit, regardless of how attractive or appealing it may initially appear. Instead, such conduct gradually produces imbalance within a person's mental, physical, and spiritual state. It causes them to misplace priorities, whereby temporary desires are elevated above lasting obligations, and fleeting comforts are preferred over eternal well-being. As a result, relationships become strained, decisions become misguided, and the heart loses its sense of stability and clarity. Most importantly, this heedless attitude prevents proper preparation for accountability on the Day of Judgment, which is the most significant and unavoidable reality every person must face. Consequently, this path leads only to stress, inner conflict, and hardship in both this world and the hereafter, even if the person outwardly enjoys wealth, influence, or worldly luxury. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 4.
That is because they opposed Allah and His Messenger. And whoever opposes Allah, then indeed Allah is severe in penalty.
This verse establishes a universal principle that applies to every person across every era. Opposition to Allah, the Exalted, does not merely refer to open rejection, but also includes persistent disobedience through misusing His blessings and neglecting His guidance. Such opposition inevitably brings consequences, because it contradicts the very purpose for which mankind was created. Just as using a device contrary to its intended design leads to malfunction and damage, living contrary to divine guidance leads to imbalance, confusion, and suffering within one's life. These consequences are not arbitrary punishments, but natural outcomes of departing from the path of truth, balance, and wisdom established by the Creator. Therefore, the only path that leads to genuine peace of mind, stability, and lasting success in both worlds is adherence to the divine code of conduct revealed by Allah, the Exalted, through His final messenger, Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This divine guidance is perfectly suited to human nature, because it originates from the one who created human beings, and fully understands their needs, weaknesses, and potential. No matter how advanced a society becomes, and regardless of how much knowledge it accumulates in fields such as psychology, neuroscience, medicine, or social sciences, human understanding will always remain incomplete and limited. Humanity continues to discover new aspects of the human mind and body, revealing how little was previously understood. If mankind cannot fully comprehend the intricacies of their own creation, it is impossible for them to independently produce a flawless and universal code of conduct, capable of guiding every individual and society in every circumstance without error, bias, or deficiency. In contrast, Allah the Exalted possesses absolute and perfect knowledge of all things, including what has occurred, what is occurring, and what will occur in the future. His knowledge encompasses every visible and hidden reality, every individual condition, and every possible outcome. Therefore, His guidance alone is completely free from error, limitation, and bias. It provides a clear and reliable standard that distinguishes truth from falsehood, benefit from harm, and justice from injustice. Through this divine code of conduct, a person is able to correctly use the blessings they have been granted, maintain balance within their life, and fulfill their purpose with clarity and certainty. History itself stands as a powerful testimony to this truth. Whenever individuals and societies sincerely implemented divine guidance, as revealed in the Holy Quran and embodied by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, they experienced unprecedented levels of justice, stability, compassion, and social harmony. Communities were united by shared moral principles, individuals possessed clarity of purpose, and society functioned in a balanced and orderly manner. This transformation was not the result of wealth, technological advancement, or political power, but the direct result of aligning human conduct with divine wisdom. For this reason, every person must approach divine guidance with humility, trust, and sincerity, recognizing that it is designed entirely for their own benefit. Even when certain commands conflict with personal desires, immediate preferences, or temporary comforts, obedience ultimately leads to long-term well-being and peace. This reality can be understood through the example of a wise patient who follows the instructions of a skilled and trustworthy physician. Although the prescribed treatment may involve discomfort, restrictions, or unpleasant remedies, the patient accepts it willingly because they understand that the physician possesses the knowledge necessary to restore their health. Similarly, divine guidance may sometimes require discipline, sacrifice, and restraint, but it ultimately leads to the restoration and preservation of a person's spiritual, mental, and physical well-being. Thus, true wisdom lies in recognizing that obedience to Allah the Exalted is not a burden placed upon mankind, but a mercy granted for their protection, purification, and success. Through sincere adherence to His guidance, a person achieves balance within their inner and outer life, avoids unnecessary hardship and confusion, and prepares successfully for their eternal future. Through the example of the Banu Nadir, Allah the Exalted further delivers a clear warning in the Holy Quran against persisting in disobedience while falsely believing that worldly assets, such as wealth, status, and influence, can provide lasting protection. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 5.
Whatever you have cut down of their palm trees or left standing on their trunks, it was by permission of Allah, and so He would disgrace the defiantly disobedient.
This verse highlights a profound reality. When a person deliberately turns away from the guidance of Allah, the Exalted, the very things they rely upon for comfort and security can become sources of distress, humiliation, and eventual loss. What was once seen as strength can transform into weakness, and what was once a source of pride can become a cause of regret. This serves as both a punishment for wrongdoing and a visible lesson for others, demonstrating that no worldly possession holds independent power against the will and decree of Allah, the Exalted. In many cases, a person may witness the gradual deterioration of their own assets, influence, or stability before their departure from this world. This decline acts as a powerful reminder that worldly blessings are not permanent guarantees, but temporary trusts. Their purpose is to test how they are used, whether in obedience and gratitude, or in arrogance and neglect. When these blessings are misused or relied upon, instead of turning sincerely towards Allah, the Exalted, they can become a means of inner turmoil, anxiety, and loss of peace. Therefore, this example calls every person to reflect deeply and to place their trust in Allah, the Exalted, rather than in temporary worldly means. True security lies not in wealth or influence, but in correctly using the blessings granted by Allah, the Exalted, in a manner that aligns with His guidance. By doing so, a person protects themselves from both worldly ruin and lasting regret, and instead attains stability, dignity, and true inner peace. As the spoils of war obtained from the Banu Nadir did not involve actual fighting, the rules governing their distribution were different from the spoils acquired through direct combat. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verses 6-7.
And what Allah granted of property to His messenger from them, you did not spur for it in an expedition any horses or camels, but Allah gives His messengers power over whom He wills, and Allah is over all things competent. And what Allah granted to His messenger from the people of the towns, it is for Allah and for the messenger and for his near relatives and orphans and the needy and the stranded traveler, so that it will not be a perpetual distribution among the rich from among you.
These verses establish a profound and comprehensive principle regarding the proper circulation of wealth within society, namely that wealth is a trust from Allah, the Exalted, and must not be allowed to remain confined within a small, privileged segment of the population. Instead, it must flow through society in a way that benefits all people, especially the vulnerable, such as the poor, orphans, widows, and those facing hardship. When wealth circulates properly, it strengthens communities, reduces social tension, and creates stability. When it becomes concentrated in the hands of a few, it produces imbalance, resentment, and widespread hardship. This instruction reflects a deep understanding of human society, as economic imbalance inevitably leads to social imbalance, which then leads to emotional stress, societal instability, and injustice. Islamic financial guidance establishes multiple mechanisms to ensure this healthy circulation of wealth. One clear example is the obligatory redistribution of a portion of a person's savings to the poor and needy on a regular basis. This obligation prevents wealth from being hoarded indefinitely and ensures that those who possess abundance actively contribute to supporting those in difficulty. This system does not merely benefit the recipient, it also purifies the heart of the giver from greed, arrogance, and excessive attachment to material possessions. As a result, both the individual and society benefit. The wealthy person develops humility and gratitude, while the poor person gains relief and dignity, thereby reducing resentment and social division. Another example is the inheritance system established by Allah, the Exalted, which ensures that wealth is distributed among multiple family members rather than remaining concentrated in a single individual. In many societies, wealth can remain within one branch of a family for generations, creating powerful economic dynasties, while others remain permanently disadvantaged. In contrast, Islamic inheritance laws break up large concentrations of wealth over time, ensuring that wealth continues to circulate rather than stagnate. This prevents the formation of permanent economic elites and promotes broader financial stability. Practical examples of this system were clearly demonstrated during the leadership of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him and his companions. Wealth that entered the public treasury was distributed to the poor, widows, and those in need, rather than being reserved for rulers or elites. During the Islamic rule, it became well known that state resources were used to support even the most vulnerable individuals, including the elderly and disabled, regardless of their social status. This created a society where basic needs were met and extreme poverty was significantly reduced. Wealth served its proper purpose as a means of support and stability, rather than domination and control. In contrast, modern economic systems often allow wealth to accumulate disproportionately among elites through structural mechanisms. For example, in many countries, individuals with large investments often see their wealth grow passively through assets, property appreciation, and financial instruments, while those who rely solely on wages struggle to keep pace with rising living costs. Additionally, wealthy individuals and corporations may use legal financial structures to reduce their tax burden, allowing them to preserve and increase their wealth while contributing proportionally less to public welfare. According to studies by organizations such as the World Bank, wealth inequality has continued to increase globally, with a small percentage of the population controlling a large portion of global wealth, while millions struggle to meet basic needs. The consequences of this imbalance extend beyond financial hardship. When wealth becomes concentrated, it often leads to increased stress, anxiety, crime, and social instability. Those who lack basic security may experience constant psychological strain, while those who possess excessive wealth may develop fear, arrogance, and isolation. Both extremes produce imbalance and prevent true peace of mind. In contrast, the divine system established by Allah, the Exalted, creates balance by ensuring that wealth continues to move through society. It protects the poor from deprivation, and protects the wealthy from spiritual corruption caused by excessive attachment to wealth. It fosters compassion, social cohesion, and mutual support, ensuring that society functions as a unified body rather than divided classes competing for survival. This system demonstrates the perfect wisdom of Allah, the Exalted, who understands human nature completely. When people follow this guidance, wealth becomes a means of stability, gratitude, and peace. When they ignore it, wealth becomes a source of corruption, imbalance, and suffering. Thus, the proper circulation of wealth is not merely an economic principle, but a spiritual, psychological, and social necessity for achieving lasting justice, stability, and peace of mind in both worlds. This establishes a fundamental principle that true success, peace of mind, and stability can only be achieved by accepting and acting upon the guidance granted through the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 7.
And whatever the messenger has given you, take, and what he has forbidden you, refrain from.
This verse makes clear that Islamic teachings are not optional suggestions, but essential guidance for achieving balance and harmony in life. Following these instructions ensures that individuals avoid harmful patterns, maintain justice, and achieve inner stability, even when the guidance contradicts personal desires or immediate comfort. A person must therefore act upon Islamic teachings, even when they conflict with their own inclinations. Human desires are often focused on short-term satisfaction rather than long-term well-being. For example, a person may desire unearned wealth, indulgence in harmful habits, or freedom from responsibility. While these may seem appealing initially, they ultimately result in anxiety, broken relationships, stress, and societal imbalance. Islamic guidance provides limits and directions to safeguard individuals from such destructive outcomes. This can be illustrated through the analogy of a wise patient who follows the advice of their doctor. When prescribed bitter medicine or a strict diet, the patient may find these instructions unpleasant, yet they trust the doctor's knowledge. The patient does not need to understand every detail of the treatment. Obedience ensures healing and long-term health. Conversely, ignoring the advice often worsens illness and leads to further complications. Similarly, a person who accepts and acts on Islamic teachings experiences balance in mental, physical, and emotional states. Islamic guidance prohibits dishonesty, exploitation, and injustice, resulting in trust, strong relationships, and inner peace. It encourages charity, patience, gratitude, and self-discipline, which cultivate resilience and contentment. A life aligned with divine guidance fosters harmony internally and externally. In contrast, those who ignore Allah's, the Exalted, guidance often suffer confusion, dissatisfaction, and instability, even in advanced societies with knowledge in psychology, medicine, and social sciences. Human insight, though valuable, remains limited and cannot fully prevent mental stress, improper priorities, or societal discord due to bias, incomplete knowledge, and restricted foresight. Only Allah, the Exalted, possesses complete knowledge of human nature, circumstances, and consequences, both seen and unseen. He knows what maintains balance within the human mind and body, and what promotes societal well-being. Therefore, the divine guidance delivered through the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, provides a perfect framework to achieve stability, fairness, and peace of mind. This truth is evident when comparing those who live according to divine instruction and those who do not. Individuals who follow Islamic guidance cultivate discipline, purpose, gratitude, and emotional stability. They are able to face hardships with patience, understanding that challenges serve wisdom and growth. Their priorities remain aligned, reducing unnecessary anxiety over worldly matters. Those who rely solely on personal desire or limited human reasoning, however, experience constant dissatisfaction, fear, and instability, regardless of wealth or status. Chapter 12 Yusuf, verse 108.
Say, this is my way, I invite to Allah with insight, I and those who follow me.
This verse highlights that following Islamic teachings requires reflection and sincerity. A person is not asked to accept guidance blindly, but to approach it with an open mind, observe its wisdom, and recognize the benefits it brings. Just as a patient trusts the doctor for physical well-being, a person must trust the guidance of Allah, the Exalted, for complete mental, physical, and spiritual stability. Only by accepting and acting upon this guidance can an individual achieve a balanced life, proper placement of people and responsibilities, inner peace, and protection from the harmful consequences that arise from following limited human knowledge or unchecked desires. Obedience to Allah, the Exalted, through the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is therefore both an act of faith and an act of wisdom that ensures true and lasting tranquility. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 7.
And what Allah restored to his messenger from the people of the towns, it is for Allah and for the messenger and for his near relatives and the orphans and the needy and the stranded traveler.
This particular type of spoils of war was granted to the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and his close relatives, because they were not permitted to receive charity directly. This has been confirmed in a hadith found in Sahih Bukhari, number 3072. Such provisions ensured that those who were responsible for leading and safeguarding the Muslim community could maintain their households and fulfill their obligations without relying on charity, while also setting a precedent for the fair and regulated distribution of wealth. Orphans are frequently mentioned in Islamic teachings due to their vulnerability and social weakness, which often results in deprivation of their rights. Therefore, a person must ensure they aid those who are socially disadvantaged, such as orphans and widows, according to their means. Supporting orphans and widows has become remarkably accessible in the modern age, as sponsorship programs can be established online within minutes, often for amounts smaller than a typical monthly phone bill. Ignoring this responsibility is a serious neglect of an essential component of Islam, as acting upon it secures the continuous support of Allah the Exalted in both worlds. This has been affirmed in a hadith found in Sahih Muslim, number 6853. In addition, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, has emphasized the immense reward for those who care for orphans, stating that they will earn his closeness in paradise. This is recorded in a hadith in Sahih Bukhari, number 6005. Similarly, providing for the needy, including widows, grants a reward equivalent to that of one who prays throughout the night and fasts every day, as advised in a hadith in Sahih Bukhari, number 6006. Consequently, even those who find it challenging to perform voluntary acts of worship can achieve great reward through consistent assistance to the needy, making it a practical means of attaining spiritual benefits with minimal effort. It is also vital to remember that all means, such as wealth, have been entrusted to a person by Allah the Exalted as a loan rather than an outright gift. A loan must be repaid to its rightful owner. The proper repayment of this loan is through using one's wealth in ways that are pleasing to Allah the Exalted. Therefore, when a person aids the needy, they are in reality repaying a debt owed to Allah rather than performing a favor for him. Maintaining this perspective prevents one from developing arrogance or adopting an incorrect attitude that they are helping Allah, when in fact they are fulfilling their obligation and seizing the opportunity for reward. Furthermore, the needy individual benefits as well, since by accepting the aid, they allow the donor to earn immense reward. If every needy person were to reject assistance, the opportunity for reward would be lost. Remembering this principle safeguards the integrity of one's actions and maximizes their spiritual benefit. Aiding the needy encompasses fulfilling any lawful requirement they may have, whether emotional, physical, or financial. No Muslim, regardless of how modest their means, can excuse themselves from this duty, as every contribution, however small, holds significance in the sight of Allah the Exalted. Similarly, the traveler represents the stranger who finds themselves in a foreign land. Islam encourages Muslims to extend their support to such individuals by providing for their needs, whether it is food, shelter, safe transportation, or protection from harm during their journey. Acts of compassion towards travelers embody the ethical and social principles of Islam, reinforcing justice, empathy, and communal solidarity, and ensuring that wealth and resources circulate to benefit the wider society, not merely the comfortable or privileged. This guidance highlights the comprehensive nature of Islamic teachings, which integrate ethical responsibility, social justice, and spiritual reward, ensuring that wealth is used as a means to uphold human dignity, support the vulnerable, and cultivate personal and societal balance. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 7.
So that it will not be a perpetual distribution among the rich from among you. And whatever the messenger has given you, take, and what he has forbidden you, refrain from.
However, obeying Allah the Exalted often requires a person to act contrary to their own worldly desires and personal aspirations. Many people, however, allow these desires to dominate their decision-making and, as a result, persist in disobeying Allah, the Exalted, by misusing the blessings He has granted them. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 7.
Unfear Allah.
This persistent neglect of divine guidance has profound consequences. When a person prioritizes personal whims over the commands of Allah, the Exalted, they destabilize their mental and physical state, misplace everything and everyone within their life, and disrupt the balance that leads to true peace of mind. Such behavior inevitably generates stress, difficulties, and ongoing challenges, even if the person appears outwardly comfortable and enjoys worldly luxuries. Furthermore, by failing to prepare adequately for their accountability on Judgment Day, they risk far greater consequences in the hereafter. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 7.
Indeed, Allah is severe in penalty.
Allah, the Exalted, continues to discuss the distribution of the spoils of war obtained without fighting, giving special recognition to the companions from Mecca, may Allah be pleased with them, who migrated to Medina and left behind their homes, wealth, and families purely for the sake of Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 8.
For the poor emigrants who were expelled from their homes and their properties, seeking bounty from Allah and His approval and supporting Allah and His Messenger, there is also a share. Those are the truthful.
This verse highlights the extraordinary sacrifices made by the early emigrants and establishes a principle that people today must understand. Allah, the Exalted, does not demand that they endure trials equal to those faced by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and his companions, may Allah be pleased with them. For instance, the verse refers specifically to the hardships of leaving Mecca for Medina, a journey that involved losing property, enduring hostility, and facing uncertainty. In comparison, the difficulties that people face now are generally less severe. Their obligations primarily involve small but meaningful sacrifices, such as waking early for a daily spiritual practice, or giving a portion of wealth in obligatory charity. These acts, though minor in worldly terms, carry immense spiritual significance when performed sincerely. People should therefore cultivate gratitude for the relative ease of their responsibilities, and demonstrate that gratitude through the proper use of their blessings in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. Moreover, when encountering hardships, a person is encouraged to reflect on the steadfastness of the righteous predecessors, and how they overcame severe trials through unwavering obedience to Allah, the Exalted. This obedience includes fulfilling His commands, avoiding His prohibitions, and accepting destiny with patience. By keeping the examples of the early companions, may Allah be pleased with them, in mind, a person gains strength and perspective, recognizing that if those most beloved to Allah endured greater trials with patience, their own challenges, though difficult, can be overcome. A hadith in Sunan Ibn Majah, number 4023, confirms that the Holy Prophets, peace be upon them, faced the most severe tests and were nonetheless most beloved to Allah, the Exalted. Following in the footsteps of these righteous predecessors fosters hope that a person may ultimately join them in the hereafter. Their steadfastness serves as both inspiration and guidance for those seeking spiritual success and peace of mind in both worlds. This verse also underscores an essential truth about Islam: the attainment of peace of mind and success in both worlds requires sacrifice. Just as worldly accomplishments, such as becoming a skilled professional, demand effort, perseverance, and sometimes personal sacrifice, spiritual success similarly requires diligence, obedience, and the proper use of blessings granted by Allah, the Exalted. Unfortunately, many people mistakenly believe that merely verbally declaring faith or acknowledging spiritual principles is sufficient to secure the invaluable gift of peace of mind in both worlds. This misconception is inconsistent, as they readily accept that worldly achievements require effort, yet expect spiritual and eternal rewards without sacrifice. Chapter 29 Al-Ankabut, verse 2.
Do the people think that they will be left to say, "We believe," and they will not be tried?
People must abandon this deluded notion and embrace a life of striving in obedience to Allah, the Exalted, commensurate with the level of peace of mind they wish to achieve. Obedience involves correctly using the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, as outlined in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. The principle is simple yet profound. The more one obeys Allah, the Exalted, the greater the peace of mind and blessings they will receive. In the divine economy of rewards, what one gives, through effort, obedience and sacrifice, is precisely what one shall receive. Chapter 47 Muhammad, verse 7.
O you who have believed, if you support Allah, He will support you and plant firmly your feet.
Allah, the Exalted, then gives special recognition to the companions from Medina, may Allah be pleased with them, who had already become firmly established in faith before the migration of the companions from Mecca, may Allah be pleased with them, arrived among them. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 9.
And those who were settled in Al-Madinah and in faith before their migration. They loved those who emigrated to them.
In this verse, Allah the Exalted Himself bears witness to the sincerity that resided within their hearts. Even though the emigrants from Mecca, may Allah be pleased with them, arrived with little wealth, and therefore became a financial responsibility upon the community of Medina, the residents did not view them as burdens. Instead, they welcomed them with genuine love, compassion, and generosity. This noble attitude was not driven by worldly benefit, but by their deep bond of faith and their sincere desire to please Allah, the Exalted. Their example demonstrates the true meaning of sincerity towards others, which is a fundamental part of Islamic teachings. This principle of sincerity has been emphasized in a hadith found in Sahih Muslim, number 196, which explains that Islam includes sincerity towards people. This sincerity involves always desiring what is best for others, and demonstrating this through both words and actions. It includes guiding others towards goodness, warning them against harmful behavior, showing kindness and mercy, and striving to improve their condition. This comprehensive concept is further clarified in a hadith found in Sahih Muslim, number 170, in which the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, taught that a person cannot attain complete faith until they love for others what they love for themselves. This teaching establishes empathy, compassion, and selflessness as essential qualities of a sincere and spiritually complete person. The importance of sincerity towards others is further emphasized in a hadith found in Sahih Bukhari, number 57, where the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, placed sincerity towards people alongside establishing the obligatory prayer and giving the obligatory charity. This pairing highlights that sincerity towards others is not a minor or optional matter, but rather a central pillar of righteous conduct. Just as prayer strengthens one's connection with Allah, the Exalted, and charity purifies wealth, sincerity purifies relationships and strengthens society. True sincerity also requires that a person shares in the emotional state of others. They feel happiness when others experience joy and feel sadness when others experience grief, provided that these emotions do not involve disobedience to Allah, the Exalted. At a higher level, sincerity motivates a person to sacrifice their own comfort in order to benefit others, just as the companions from Medina, may Allah be pleased with them, willingly shared their homes and wealth. For example, a person may reduce their own spending in order to help those in need, seeking only the pleasure of Allah, the Exalted. Another important aspect of sincerity is striving to unite people upon goodness and harmony. Creating division and discord is a trait inspired by the devil, as warned in the Holy Quran. Chapter 17 Al-Isra, verse 53.
Satan certainly seeks to sow discord among them.
In contrast, sincerity motivates a person to protect the honor of others, conceal their faults, and offer advice privately and respectfully. The one who conceals the faults of others for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, will have their own faults concealed, as confirmed in a hadith found in Jami at Tirmidhi, number 1426. This creates a society built upon trust, dignity, and mutual respect, rather than humiliation and conflict. Sincerity also includes supporting others in their absence, such as defending them from slander and false accusations, and striving to teach and guide them towards what benefits their worldly and spiritual lives. A sincere person does not become indifferent to the well-being of others or isolate themselves in selfish concern. Rather, they recognize that caring for others is part of fulfilling their duty to Allah, the Exalted. Even if a person cannot reform the entire society, they can still practice sincerity within their family, friends, and community. Chapter 28 Al-Concise, verse 77.
And do good as Allah has done good to you.
Finally, True sincerity requires that a person helps others solely for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, and not in pursuit of praise, recognition, or gratitude. Seeking recognition from people corrupts sincerity and diminishes spiritual reward. But when a person helps others purely for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, their sincerity strengthens their character, purifies their heart, and elevates their rank both in this world and in the hereafter. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 9.
And those who were settled in Al-Madinah and in faith before their migration, they loved those who emigrated to them.
The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, established brotherhood between his fellow emigrants from Mecca and the companions from Medina, the helpers, may Allah be pleased with them all. He instructed them to become brothers for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, thereby establishing a connection rooted in faith, sincerity, and obedience. This historic event has been recorded by Ibn Kathir in his book, The Life of the Prophet, Volume 2, page 215. This brotherhood was not based on blood relations, tribal identity, financial interests, or worldly benefit. Instead, it was founded purely upon obedience to Allah, the Exalted. Because the foundation was pure and correct, their relationship remained strong, enduring hardships, poverty, and trials without weakening. This demonstrates a universal principle. When the foundation of a relationship is established for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, it gains strength, stability, and longevity. In contrast, when bonds are formed upon worldly motives, such as wealth, status, tribal loyalty, or personal benefit, they are inherently weak. Just as a building constructed on an unstable foundation eventually develops cracks and collapses, relationships built upon temporary worldly interests will inevitably weaken or break. This is witnessed frequently, where even close relatives become divided over inheritance, wealth, pride, or personal disputes. Their connection was not maintained by sincere obedience to Allah, the Exalted, but rather by temporary worldly factors, which cannot sustain unity. On the other hand, when people unite for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, their bond becomes independent of worldly fluctuations. Wealth, poverty, distance, or hardship do not break such a connection, because its foundation is rooted in something permanent and unchanging: obedience to Allah, the Exalted. This was clearly demonstrated by the companions, may Allah be pleased with them, who shared their homes, wealth, and resources with those who had lost everything, without resentment or hesitation. Chapter 5 Al-Ma'idah, verse 2.
And cooperate in righteousness and piety, but do not cooperate in sin and aggression.
Therefore, if a person desires their relationships to endure and benefit them both in this world and the hereafter, they must ensure the foundation of those relationships is obedience to Allah, the Exalted. This involves encouraging one another towards righteousness, preventing one another from wrongdoing, supporting one another during hardship, and sincerely desiring good for one another. When this foundation is established correctly, the relationship will not only endure the trials of this world, but it will also continue as a source of comfort, peace, and reward in the hereafter. Not only did the companions from Medina, may Allah be pleased with them, demonstrate their love and sincerity for the migrants from Mecca, may Allah be pleased with them, by sharing their homes and wealth, but they went even further by willingly placing themselves in hardship in order to support them. They did this even when the migrants were given financial advantages, such as receiving a greater share of the spoils of war. This extraordinary level of sincerity and selflessness has been praised by Allah, the Exalted, in the Holy Quran. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 9.
They love those who emigrated to them, and find not any want in their breasts of what the emigrants were given, but give them preference over themselves even though they are in privation.
This verse highlights a remarkable level of generosity, where a person not only gives when they possess abundance, but gives preference to others even while they themselves are in need. This proves that their generosity was not motivated by surplus wealth, social pressure, or desire for recognition, but purely by their sincere desire to please Allah, the Exalted. A clear example of this occurred in the 4th year after the migration, when the tribe of Banu Nadir was expelled from Medina due to their treachery. The wealth obtained from them was classified as spoils gained without fighting, and was therefore entrusted entirely to the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. He gathered the companions from Medina, may Allah be pleased with them, and gave them the option of sharing the wealth equally with the migrants from Mecca, may Allah be pleased with them, or allowing the migrants to receive all of it so they could become financially independent. Despite their own limited resources, the companions from Medina, may Allah be pleased with them, chose the latter option. They requested that all of the wealth be given to the migrants, may Allah be pleased with them, and they willingly continued to support them financially, such as by hosting them in their homes and sharing their provisions. This incident has been recorded by Ibn Kathir in the Life of the Prophet, Volume 3, pages 100 to 101, and also by Muhammad as-Salabi in the Noble Life of the Prophet, Volume 1, pages 1269 to 1270. This noble conduct teaches an essential principle. True generosity originates from a correct understanding of ownership. When a person truly realizes that everything they possess belongs to Allah, the Exalted, and that they themselves are only temporary custodians, giving in charity becomes easier. They understand that they are not losing anything, but are simply returning a portion of what was entrusted to them. This has been commanded in the Holy Quran. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 254.
O you who have believed, spend from that which we have provided for you.
This verse reminds people that their wealth is not self-created, but was provided by Allah, the Exalted. Their intelligence, strength, opportunities, and resources were all granted by Him. Therefore, when they give charity, they are not doing a favor to Allah, the Exalted, nor to the needy person. Rather, they are fulfilling a responsibility and repaying a trust. Adopting this mindset also protects a person from pride, which is one of the greatest dangers to charity. Pride causes a person to believe they are superior because they give, and that the needy are dependent upon them. In reality, the opposite is true. The needy person provides the donor with an opportunity to earn immense and lasting reward from Allah, the Exalted. Without the presence of those in need, a person would be deprived of this opportunity. Furthermore, when a person believes their wealth was acquired solely through their own effort, they fall into a dangerous illusion. Their abilities, health, intellect, and circumstances were all granted by Allah, the Exalted. Therefore, the wealth produced through these blessings remains a trust from Him. If it is used correctly, it becomes a source of peace, blessing, and reward. But if it is misused or hoarded out of selfishness, it may become a source of regret and punishment. In reality, when a person gives charity sincerely, their transaction is not with the needy person, but with Allah, the Exalted. Allah, the Exalted, is the one who records the deed, multiplies its reward, and returns it in ways far greater than what was given. This divine transaction never results in loss. Rather, it produces immeasurable profit, bringing peace in this world and eternal reward in the hereafter. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 245.
Who is it that would loan Allah a goodly loan, so He may multiply it for him many times over?
This is why those who truly understand this reality give willingly, confidently, and sincerely, knowing that whatever they give for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, will never be lost. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 9.
They love those who emigrated to them, and find not any want in their breasts of what the emigrants were given, but give them preference over themselves even though they are in privation.
It must be noted that even though the companions from Medina, may Allah be pleased with them, generously shared their wealth and homes with the companions from Mecca, may Allah be pleased with them, the migrants did not adopt an attitude of laziness or dependence. Instead, they remained committed to working hard in order to earn lawful provision and support themselves and others. Their acceptance of help was based on necessity, not convenience, and they never allowed generosity shown to them to weaken their sense of personal responsibility. A powerful example of this is the incident involving Sa'd ibn al-Rabi and Abdur Rahman ibn Auf, may Allah be pleased with them both. Sa'd ibn al-Rabi, may Allah be pleased with him, offered half of his wealth to Abdur Rahman ibn Auf, may Allah be pleased with him, out of sincere brotherhood and compassion. Despite the sincerity and generosity behind this offer, Abdur Rahman ibn Auf, may Allah be pleased with him, respectfully declined, and instead asked to be shown the marketplace so that he could earn his own livelihood. This incident has been recorded in a hadith found in Sahih Bukhari, number 2048. This response demonstrates his dignity, self-respect, and strong reliance upon Allah, the Exalted, while still using the means available to him. This incident establishes an essential principle. A person must avoid laziness and dependence upon others when they possess the ability to work and earn. Allah, the Exalted, has granted each person various resources, such as physical strength, skills, intelligence, and opportunities, and these blessings are meant to be used responsibly. Neglecting these resources and relying unnecessarily on others contradicts the spirit of responsibility and accountability that has been emphasized in divine teachings. At the same time, a person must remember that their provision was decreed long before their creation. This has been confirmed in a hadith found in Sahih Muslim, number 6748, which explains that the provision of creation was written 50,000 years before Allah, the Exalted, created the skies and the earth. This understanding creates balance in a person's mindset. On one hand, they work diligently and responsibly, and on the other hand, they do not become consumed by anxiety or desperation, knowing that what has been allocated to them cannot be taken away by anyone, and what has not been allocated to them cannot be obtained through unlawful or desperate means. Therefore, a person's duty is to use the means granted to them, while placing their trust in Allah, the Exalted. They must strive to earn lawful provision so that they can fulfill their own needs, support their dependents, and assist others who are less fortunate. This attitude transforms earning provision into an act of worship when done with the correct intention. The ideal member of society is not one who becomes a burden upon others without valid reason, but one who strives to be independent while also being generous and supportive of others. However, those who are genuinely unable to provide for themselves, such as those with disabilities, illness, or unavoidable hardship, are entitled to support and compassion. Supporting such individuals is a duty upon society, and a means of earning reward from Allah, the Exalted. This balanced model, demonstrated by the companions, may Allah be pleased with them, combines generosity with personal responsibility, reliance upon Allah, the Exalted, with effort, and compassion for others with dignity and self-reliance. After discussing the remarkable generosity and selflessness of the companions, may Allah be pleased with them, Allah, the Exalted, presents a timeless and universal principle which reveals the root of true success and peace of mind. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 9.
And whoever is protected from the stinginess of his soul, it is those who are the successful.
This profound statement clarifies that the greatest obstacle between a person and true success is not poverty, hardship, or lack of opportunity, but the internal greed and stinginess of their own soul. This stinginess is not limited to wealth alone. Rather, it includes withholding kindness, compassion, forgiveness, time, effort, and support from others. It is a deep-rooted attitude, which causes a person to prioritize their own desires above what is right and pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. The life of this world is, in reality, a test of how a person uses the blessings they have been granted. Every blessing, whether it is wealth, health, knowledge, influence, or time, has been entrusted to a person as a responsibility. The greed of the soul encourages a person to misuse these blessings in pursuit of temporary worldly desires, such as status, luxury, and recognition. It convinces them to hoard wealth instead of sharing it, to prioritize their comfort over their duties, and to seek worldly gain even at the expense of their spiritual well-being. This internal greed gradually corrupts a person's priorities. As a result, they begin to misplace everything and everyone within their life. They may prioritize wealth over family, status over character, and temporary pleasure over eternal success. Even if they outwardly achieve worldly success, their inner state becomes disturbed. They experience anxiety, fear of loss, dissatisfaction, and constant stress, because their heart has become attached to things that are temporary and unstable. Furthermore, this greed prevents a person from adequately preparing for their accountability on the Day of Judgment. They delay repentance, neglect their duties, and assume they will have time later to correct themselves. But time passes quickly, and their opportunity to prepare diminishes. As a result, their greed becomes a cause of regret, loss, and punishment in both this world and the hereafter. In contrast, the one who is protected from the stinginess of their soul achieves true success. This protection occurs when a person disciplines their soul and chooses obedience over desire, generosity over greed, and responsibility over selfishness. They recognize that the blessings they possess are a trust from Allah, the Exalted, and they use them in ways that are pleasing to Him. This person gives charity even when their soul urges them to hold back. They fulfill their responsibilities even when they feel tired. They forgive others even when their ego resists. They prioritize eternal success over temporary comfort. By doing so, they free themselves from the slavery of their desires. As a result, they achieve a balanced mental and emotional state. They are not constantly worried about losing worldly things, because their heart is attached to Allah, the Exalted, rather than temporary possessions. They correctly place everything and everyone within their life, giving proper priority to their Creator, their responsibilities, and their purpose. This inner balance leads to true peace of mind. They experience contentment with what they have been granted, freedom from constant anxiety, and confidence in their ultimate success. Their generosity strengthens their relationships, purifies their heart, and increases the blessings in their life. Therefore, true success does not depend on how much a person possesses, but on whether they are able to overcome the greed of their own soul. The one who controls their soul and uses their blessings correctly has succeeded, even if they possess little of this world. And the one who allows their soul to be controlled by greed has failed, even if they possess the wealth of the entire world. This is why Allah, the Exalted, did not say that the wealthy, powerful, or famous are the successful. Rather, He declared that those who are protected from the stinginess of their own souls are the truly successful, as they have achieved peace of mind, balance, and lasting success in both worlds. After discussing the two noble groups from among the companions, those from Mecca and those from Medina, may Allah be pleased with them, Allah, the Exalted, invites all people who come after them to follow their example so that they may share in the peace of mind, stability, and lasting success they attained in both this world and the next. These righteous people were not honored merely because they lived in a particular time, but because of their sincere obedience to Allah, the Exalted, and their sincere conduct toward others. Their hearts were pure, free from jealousy, hatred, and resentment, and they sincerely desired good for one another. Therefore, anyone who wishes to truly follow in their footsteps must adopt the same sincerity, humility, and purity of heart. Without this sincerity toward others, a person cannot truly follow their example, even if they fulfill certain outward acts of worship, such as the obligatory prayers. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 10.
And those who came after them, saying, Our Lord, forgive us and our brothers who preceded us in faith, and put not in our hearts any resentment toward those who have believed. Our Lord, indeed you are kind and merciful.
This verse highlights that true righteousness is not limited to outward actions alone, but also includes the purification of one's inner state. A person must actively strive to remove resentment, envy, pride, and hatred from their heart, and instead replace these qualities with sincerity, compassion, and goodwill toward others. This inner purification strengthens unity, creates strong and lasting bonds between people, and leads to inner peace and emotional stability. In contrast, harboring resentment and ill feelings toward others corrupts the heart, disturbs one's peace of mind, weakens relationships, and distances a person from the pleasure of Allah the Exalted. As Islam is a complete and perfect code of conduct, Allah the Exalted consistently connects worldly matters such as kindness, sincerity, honesty, and justice toward others with His obedience throughout the Holy Quran. This demonstrates that Islam is not limited to rituals alone, but rather provides guidance for every aspect of life. It governs how a person thinks, speaks, behaves, earns, spends, and interacts with others. Every situation a person encounters, whether it appears worldly or religious, falls within the guidance and accountability established by Allah the Exalted. Therefore, one must avoid adopting the ignorant attitude of believing that Allah the Exalted only cares about specific acts of worship, such as prayer, while ignoring how a person behaves in their daily interactions. In reality, Allah the Exalted will question people about every blessing they were granted and every situation they encountered. They will be questioned about their wealth, how they earned it and spent it, their time, how they used it, their relationships, how they treated others, and their knowledge, how they acted upon it. This is because every blessing is a trust, and every moment of life carries responsibility. For this reason, a person must strive to learn and act upon Islamic teachings so that they behave correctly in every situation. When a person consistently aligns their actions with the guidance of Allah, the Exalted, they achieve a harmonious mental, emotional, and physical state. They correctly prioritize their Creator above all else, fulfill their responsibilities properly, and interact with others in a just and compassionate manner. This balanced approach allows them to correctly position everything and everyone within their life, while adequately preparing for their accountability on the Day of Judgment. As a result, they attain true tranquility, stability, and peace of mind in both this world and the next. One must therefore avoid treating Islam like a garment, which is worn when convenient and removed when it conflicts with personal desires. True obedience requires consistency, sincerity, and submission in all circumstances, not selective obedience based on convenience. The one who only follows divine guidance when it suits their desires, but abandons it when it requires sacrifice, is in reality following their own desires rather than obeying Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 25 Al-Furqan, verse 43.
Have you seen the one who takes as his God his own desire?
When a person prioritizes their desires above divine guidance, they gradually lose their sense of purpose, direction, and inner peace. Their desires constantly change, leaving them in a state of confusion, dissatisfaction, and instability. As a result, the one who fails to apply Islamic teachings consistently in every aspect of their life will inevitably misuse the blessings they have been granted. They will prioritize temporary worldly gains over eternal success, and this will lead to an unbalanced mental and emotional state. They will misplace their priorities, neglect their true purpose, and fail to adequately prepare for their accountability on the Day of Judgment. Consequently, even if they possess worldly luxuries, they will experience stress, anxiety, dissatisfaction, and inner emptiness. In contrast, the one who sincerely follows the guidance of Allah, the Exalted, in every aspect of their life will achieve inner peace, clarity, stability, and lasting success in both worlds. After discussing the sincerity of the companions, may Allah be pleased with them, and the rightly guided people who followed them, Allah, the Exalted, contrasts their noble conduct with the insincerity of hypocritical people throughout history. This contrast serves as a clear warning, so that people do not fall into the same destructive behavior. As mentioned previously, in the 4th year after the migration to Medina, the tribe of Banu Nadir attempted to assassinate the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, despite having a peace treaty. After their treachery became clear, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, sent them a message ordering them to leave the territory under his protection. At this point, the hypocrites secretly encouraged Banu Nadir to remain and resist. They promised that if Banu Nadir were expelled, they would leave with them. If they were fought, they would fight alongside them, and that they would never abandon them. In response to these false promises, Allah, the Exalted, revealed in the Holy Quran, chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verses 11 to 13.
Have you not considered those who practice hypocrisy, saying to their brothers who have disbelieved among the people of the Scripture, if you are expelled, we will surely leave with you, and we will not obey in regard to you anyone ever, and if you are fought, we will surely aid you. But Allah testifies that they are liars. If they are expelled, they will not leave with them, and if they are fought, they will not aid them. And even if they should aid them, they will surely turn their backs, then thereafter they will not be aided. You, believers, are more fearful within their breasts than Allah. That is because they are a people who do not understand.
This incited the Banu Nadir to oppose the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. However, when the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, ultimately resolved to confront Banu Nadir, the hypocrites who had previously encouraged resistance failed to offer any support. Their promises proved empty, and they withdrew when action became necessary. This episode is detailed in Imam Ibn Kathir's The Life of the Prophet, Volume 3, pages 100 to 101, as well as in Imam Safi Rahman's The Sealed Nectar, pages 302 to 303. These verses expose a key characteristic of hypocrisy, namely making bold verbal claims of loyalty and support, while lacking the sincerity and courage to fulfill those promises in action. True sincerity is proven through sacrifice and consistency, whereas hypocrisy relies on empty words designed to gain favor or create division. This passage also serves as a powerful warning regarding companionship. Human beings are naturally influenced by those around them. Beliefs, habits, attitudes, and priorities are shaped by companionship, sometimes immediately and sometimes gradually over time. Companionship is never neutral. It either elevates a person or drags them downward. This reality was emphasized by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, in a hadith recorded in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 4833, in which he explained that a person is influenced by the character and way of life of their close companion. Just as one who sits with a seller of perfume carries away a pleasant fragrance, and one who sits with a blacksmith may be affected by smoke and sparks, a person inevitably absorbs the qualities of those they associate with. When a person keeps the company of the sincere and righteous, their heart is gently drawn towards sincerity, humility, and obedience to Allah, the Exalted. Such companions remind them of their responsibilities, encourage them to use their blessings correctly, and help them remain mindful of their accountability on the Day of Judgment. Their presence strengthens faith, purifies intentions, and promotes balance in every aspect of life. Through righteous companionship, a person develops emotional stability, clarity of purpose, and inner peace. In contrast, associating with those who are heedless or guided by their desires gradually erodes spiritual awareness. The influence may begin subtly, but over time it reshapes priorities and weakens discipline. A person may begin to justify wrongdoing, neglect responsibilities, misuse blessings, and pursue fleeting pleasures at the expense of lasting success. As desires take control, the heart becomes restless and unsettled. Even if such a person outwardly enjoys worldly comfort, inwardly they experience dissatisfaction, anxiety, and instability. Their relationships weaken, their sense of direction fades, and they struggle with guilt and confusion. This imbalance affects both their worldly life and their preparation for the next. Therefore, the contrast presented in these verses is not merely historical. It is a timeless lesson. Hypocrisy destroys trust, weakens communities, and corrupts the soul, while sincerity strengthens relationships, purifies the heart, and leads to peace in both worlds. A wise person carefully chooses companions who remind them of Allah, the Exalted, whose conduct inspires righteousness, and whose presence strengthens their resolve to live a life of integrity and obedience. Allah, the Exalted, reminds people of a profound and unavoidable reality. Whenever they prioritize obedience to worldly influences, such as social approval, fashion, culture, or material ambition, over obedience to Him, they will inevitably live in a state of fear and insecurity, regardless of how much wealth, influence, or authority they possess. This is because their sense of safety becomes dependent on unstable and temporary things that can be lost at any moment. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 13.
You believers are more fearful within their breasts than Allah. That is because they are a people who do not understand.
This verse reveals that those who turn away from obedience to Allah, the Exalted, develop a deep inner fear of creation, instead of maintaining the correct fear of their Creator. Their hearts become attached to worldly sources of security, such as wealth, social status, careers, or relationships. As a result, they constantly fear losing these things. They fear being abandoned by those who associate with them only for personal gain, as such relationships are based on benefit rather than sincerity. They fear losing their financial stability, their reputation, or their influence over others. They also fear the emptiness that follows worldly success, as material achievements alone cannot provide lasting peace of mind. This fear persists because worldly things are inherently unstable. Wealth can disappear, authority can be taken away, popularity can fade, and even the closest companions can turn away when circumstances change. Since their hearts depend on these temporary things, their sense of security constantly fluctuates. This creates anxiety, stress, and emotional instability, even if they outwardly appear successful and comfortable. In contrast, the person who prioritizes obedience to Allah, the Exalted, develops a completely different state of mind. Their heart becomes attached to the One who controls all things, and whose power and authority never diminish. Because they strive to use the blessings granted to them according to divine guidance, they place their trust in Allah, the Exalted, rather than in creation. This produces inner strength, stability, and peace. Chapter 65 at Talaq, verse 2.
And whoever fears Allah, He will make for him a way out.
This promise establishes a fundamental principle. True security and relief from difficulties come through obedience to Allah, the Exalted. The person who remains mindful of Him understands that every difficulty has been permitted for a wise reason, and that relief will come at the proper time. This certainty removes panic and replaces it with patience and trust. Such a person also understands with complete conviction that nothing occurs within the universe without the permission and decree of Allah, the Exalted. No person can harm them, benefit them, raise them, or lower them except by His will. This realization frees them from fearing creation, because creation itself possesses no independent power. Their fear becomes correctly directed toward Allah, the Exalted, which protects them from wrongdoing and keeps them firm upon the right path. As a result, they achieve emotional balance and inner peace. They are not shaken by loss, nor are they deceived by success. They understand that both ease and hardship are part of a temporary test. Their heart remains stable because it depends on the One who never changes. Therefore, these verses highlight a timeless truth. Fear and insecurity are the natural consequences of attaching the heart to temporary worldly things, while peace and stability are the natural consequences of attaching the heart to Allah, the Exalted. The one who obeys Him gains freedom from the fear of creation, while the one who disobeys Him becomes trapped in constant fear of losing the fragile things of this world. Allah, the Exalted, exposes another important reality regarding those who oppose Islam. Although they may outwardly display confidence, strength, and boldness, their attachment to worldly life and their intense love of comfort and pleasure often prevent them from confronting openly when sacrifice is required. Instead, they frequently resort to indirect methods. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 14.
They will not fight you all except within fortified cities or from behind walls.
This verse reveals that behind the appearance of strength often lies fear and insecurity. When a person's heart is deeply attached to worldly life, wealth, comfort, and status, they become unwilling to risk losing those things. As a result, their opposition tends to operate through hidden channels rather than open confrontation. Throughout history, despite possessing military strength and political authority, many opponents of Islam have relied heavily on indirect strategies. Their influence has often been exercised through political systems, financial control, media platforms, cultural narratives, and social trends. These methods shape minds, values, and priorities gradually, often without immediate recognition. Such approaches can be more dangerous than open confrontation, because they subtly alter beliefs and weaken conviction over time. In order to withstand this continuous pressure, a person must develop strong and grounded faith. Strong faith acts as an anchor during times of confusion and as protection during times of temptation. It ensures that a person remains firm upon obedience to Allah, the Exalted, regardless of changing circumstances, whether in ease or hardship. This strength is not achieved through emotion alone, but through knowledge and action. When a person learns the clear proofs and evidences contained within the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, they begin to understand the wisdom behind divine commands. They recognize how sincere obedience to Allah, the Exalted, produces inner peace, clarity, and balance in both worlds. This understanding transforms obedience from a burden into a conscious and confident choice. On the other hand, ignorance of Islamic teachings weakens faith. When a person lacks knowledge and reflection, they do not perceive the deeper benefits of obedience. As soon as their desires conflict with divine guidance, they find it easy to abandon obedience because they only see short-term sacrifice rather than long-term peace and success. Their faith becomes fragile, easily shaken by trends, pressure, or persuasive narratives. Therefore, certainty of faith must be actively cultivated through consistent learning, reflection, and practical application. Faith grows when knowledge is acted upon, and it weakens when knowledge is ignored. This process involves correctly using the blessings one has been granted, whether wealth, influence, intelligence, or time, according to Islamic teachings. When a person develops this certainty and discipline, they achieve stability. Their mental and emotional state becomes balanced because their values are rooted in something unchanging. They correctly prioritize their Creator above all else and place every relationship ambition, and responsibility in its proper position. As a result, they are not easily swayed by indirect pressures or deceptive influences. Through this balanced obedience, they attain peace of mind in this world and prepare themselves properly for the next. Their strength does not lie in physical power alone, but in unwavering conviction and sincere submission to Allah, the Exalted, which remains firm regardless of external challenges. Allah, the Exalted, further exposes a deep truth about the nature of those who oppose Islam, their internal discord and instability. Though they may appear united in their efforts against the truth, their relationships are fundamentally fragile because they are grounded in worldly motives, power, wealth, status, or personal gain, rather than principles, justice, or shared morality. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 14.
Their violence among themselves is severe. You think they are together, but their hearts are diverse.
This verse highlights that outward appearances of cohesion can be deceiving. Alliances formed purely on self-interest lack the foundation necessary for genuine unity. Over time, differing ambitions, distrust, envy, or competition inevitably emerge, turning supposed allies into adversaries. The moment the benefits of their alliance diminish, or a conflict of interest arises, the same individuals who once appeared inseparable may engage in hostility, betrayal, or rivalry. This principle is a universal lesson applicable beyond worldly politics or military campaigns. When relationships, whether between individuals, groups, or nations, are built primarily on material gain or convenience rather than integrity, shared values, or moral purpose, they are inherently unstable. One only needs to observe history or society today to see how alliances based on greed, ambition, or status frequently fracture, leading to internal conflict, division, and mutual harm. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 14.
That is because they are a people who do not reason.
Thus, Allah the Exalted warns that relying on superficial unity without a foundation rooted in righteousness, sincerity, and shared principles is futile. True cohesion and stability can only exist when relationships are formed with honesty, mutual respect, and alignment with ethical and divine guidance. Otherwise, as shown clearly by history, division, internal strife, and inevitable collapse are certain outcomes. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 15.
Theirs is like the example of those shortly before them. They tasted the bad consequence of their affair, and they will have a painful punishment.
This verse reminds people that failing to learn from the past and focusing only on immediate personal gains leads to ruin. A self-absorbed approach, where one's attention is confined solely to personal circumstances, blinds the heart and mind from recognizing the broader patterns of wisdom embedded in history, the experiences of others, and one's own trials. Reflecting deeply on these lessons is a vital means of refining character, correcting errors before they recur, and achieving lasting peace of mind. This reflection allows a person to attain a balanced mental and physical state, correctly placing everything and everyone within their life. For instance, observing how the wealthy and renowned often misuse the blessings they have been granted, succumbing to anxiety, depression, addiction, or even suicide despite material comforts, teaches that genuine tranquility cannot be purchased through wealth or fulfilled by unchecked desires. Similarly, witnessing someone endure illness or hardship should inspire gratitude for one's own health and motivate its proper use before it is lost. Islam therefore encourages mindfulness, reflection, and the extraction of wisdom from the world around oneself. By cultivating this awareness, a person learns to navigate life with insight, prioritize what is truly beneficial, and avoid the pitfalls of selfishness, short-sightedness, and spiritual neglect. The ultimate outcome is a life grounded in balance, purpose, and the inner tranquility promised by Allah, the Exalted. Allah, the Exalted, draws a clear parallel between bad companionship and the relationship of the devil with a misguided person, emphasizing the danger of surrounding oneself with the wrong company. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 16.
Like the example of Satan when he says to man, disbelieve. But when he disbelieves, he says, indeed I am disassociated from you. Indeed I fear Allah, Lord of the worlds.
This verse illustrates that bad companions may initially encourage or lead one astray, but ultimately abandon them when harm comes, leaving the person to face the consequences alone, just as the devil deceives, then disassociates himself once his target falls into error. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, explained the difference between good and bad companionship in a hadith found in Sahih Bukhari, number 5534. He compared a good companion to a person who sells perfume. Even if one does not purchase the perfume, they are positively affected by its pleasant fragrance. In contrast, a bad companion is likened to a blacksmith. Even if one avoids getting burned, the smoke negatively affects them. This demonstrates that people are inevitably influenced by those they associate with, positively or negatively, visibly or subtly. A hadith found in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 4833, confirms that a person is on the religion of their companion, meaning that they adopt the attitudes, habits, and character of those they spend time with. For a person, accompanying the righteous has profound benefits. It inspires them to obey Allah, the Exalted, by fulfilling His commands, refraining from prohibitions, and patiently facing life's challenges, following the teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Conversely, associating with bad or heedless companions encourages disobedience, distracts from preparing for the hereafter, and hinders proper use of the blessings granted by Allah, the Exalted. Even lawful pursuits pursued beyond one's needs or in excess can lead to neglecting Allah, the Exalted, which is the root of spiritual ruin. Moreover, the ultimate consequence of companionship is revealed in the hereafter. People will be gathered with those they love. A hadith in Sahih Bukhari, number 3688, confirms that a person's association reflects their love, showing the practical importance of choosing companions wisely in this world. Conversely, following heedless or harmful companions demonstrates one's attachment to them, indicating eventual separation from the righteous in the hereafter, as confirmed in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 4031. Chapter 43 Az-Zukhruf, verse 67.
Close friends that day will be enemies to each other except for the righteous.
And chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 17.
So the outcome for both of them is that they will be in the fire, abiding eternally therein. And that is the recompense of the wrongdoers.
This underscores the lasting impact of companionship. Choosing righteous companions strengthens faith, obedience, and tranquility in both worlds, whereas aligning with the heedless or disobedient leads to spiritual loss and regret. After emphasizing the importance of righteous companionship as a means of guidance and stability in this world, Allah, the Exalted, calls those who claim faith in Him to prove that claim through action. True faith is not merely a declaration upon the tongue, but a reality demonstrated through preparation for accountability. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 18.
O you who have believed, fear Allah, and let every soul look to what it has put forth for tomorrow.
This verse directs every person to engage in regular self-examination. The tomorrow mentioned is the Day of Judgment, a day that is certain and closer with every passing moment. Since no one, after Allah the Exalted, is more aware of a person's private actions, intentions, and shortcomings than themselves, honest self-assessment becomes essential. When a person sincerely reviews their deeds, they become aware of their faults and are naturally driven toward repentance. This reflection softens the heart, increases humility, and motivates righteous action. It encourages a person to use the blessings they have been granted, such as time, wealth, health, knowledge, and influence, in ways that are pleasing to Allah the Exalted. In contrast, the one who neglects self-assessment drifts into heedlessness. They misuse their blessings, delay repentance, and assume there will always be more time. Such a person may find the weighing of deeds on the Day of Judgment extremely severe, and this negligence could lead to devastating consequences. A useful comparison can be drawn with a careful business owner who regularly reviews their accounts. By constantly assessing profits, losses, and obligations, they ensure their business moves in the correct direction and that required responsibilities, such as financial reporting, are fulfilled accurately. In contrast, a careless business owner who ignores their accounts eventually faces loss, confusion, and penalties. While financial penalties in this world may be difficult, they remain limited and temporary. However, the consequence of failing to prepare one's deeds for the scales on the Day of Judgment is far more serious. It is not a monetary fine, but an outcome that affects one's eternal outcome. Chapter 99 Az-Zalala, verses 7 to 8.
So whoever does an atom's weight of good will see it. And whoever does an atom's weight of evil will see it.
Furthermore, a person should not only avoid sins but also strive to avoid wasting blessings in vain pursuits. Although vain activities may not always be sinful, they represent missed opportunities for earning reward. Time spent in purposeless engagement could have been transformed into remembrance, charity, learning, or acts of kindness. On the day of judgment, when every deed is weighed, even small differences may carry immense consequences. A seemingly minor act of goodness may tip the scales towards salvation, while consistent heedlessness may result in regret beyond measure. Therefore, regular self-evaluation, sincere repentance, and purposeful living are essential. By consistently assessing actions and correcting course, a person prepares wisely for accountability, attains balance in this life, and safeguards their eternal future with Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 18.
O you who have believed, fear Allah, and let every soul look to what it has put forth for tomorrow.
It is deeply significant that Allah, the Exalted, refers to accountability as tomorrow in this verse. This expression is used to awaken urgency within the heart. Even if the final establishment of the Day of Judgment appears distant in worldly calculation, a person's personal accountability begins at death, and death is never far. It can arrive unexpectedly, without regard for age, plans, or ambitions. For this reason, adopting false hope in a long life is a dangerous and blameworthy trait. When a person assumes they have many years ahead, they naturally delay preparation for the hereafter. They give priority to accumulating wealth, status, and worldly comfort, convincing themselves that spiritual reform can wait. A simple and honest review of one's daily schedule often reveals this imbalance. How many hours are devoted to worldly pursuits, and how much sincere effort is invested in preparing for what follows death? False hope is among the strongest strategies used by the devil to misguide people. When a person believes they will live long, they postpone repentance, delay improving their character, and neglect righteous deeds. They assume there will always be time later to change. In reality, that later often never comes. Many people pass away suddenly, leaving behind unfinished plans for spiritual reform. This false security also encourages hoarding wealth and excessive attachment to material possessions. The devil instills fear by suggesting that one must accumulate endlessly for old age, worrying that no one will provide support when strength declines. Yet such thinking ignores a fundamental truth: the one who provided sustenance in youth is fully capable of providing in old age. Provision was decreed long before creation itself, as confirmed in a hadith recorded in Sahih Muslim, number 6748, which states that the provision of creation was written 50,000 years before the creation of the skies and the earth. This reality should create balance, encouraging responsible effort without anxiety or greed. It is remarkable that a person may dedicate 40 years saving for retirement, which may last only a fraction of that time, yet fail to invest comparable effort in preparing for an eternal existence. Islam does not prohibit planning for the future of this world. Saving and preparing responsibly are permissible and wise, provided that priority remains with the hereafter. The problem arises when worldly preparation overshadows eternal preparation. Although many openly admit that death can strike at any moment, their actions often reflect the assumption of permanence. Even if someone were promised endless life on earth, they would still be limited by time itself, unable to accumulate beyond certain constraints. Yet countless individuals pass away earlier than expected. Few truly internalize this lesson and adjust their priorities accordingly. One of the greatest regrets at the time of death is the realization that opportunities were wasted. Chapter 63 Al-Munafiqun, verses 10 to 11.
And spend in the way of Allah from what we have provided you before death approaches one of you, and he says, My Lord, if only you would delay me for a brief term so I would give charity and be of the righteous. But never will Allah delay a soul when its time has come. And Allah is aware of what you do.
At that stage, a person will desperately wish for even a short return to correct their negligence. But the opportunity will have passed. A person would be considered foolish if they invested more time and wealth into a temporary dwelling while neglecting a permanent home. Yet this is the reality when the temporary world is consistently prioritized over the eternal hereafter. Therefore, a wise person strives for balance. They work responsibly for this world, while remembering that death does not arrive according to personal schedules. It comes at a time decreed by Allah, the Exalted, unknown to creation but certain in occurrence. Preparing for what follows death must therefore take precedence over preparing for a future in this world that is never guaranteed. Through this awareness, a person achieves clarity, balance, and peace of mind in both worlds. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 18.
O you who have believed, fear Allah. And let every soul look to what it has put forth for tomorrow, and fear Allah.
Since fearing Allah, the Exalted, meaning true piety, has been emphasized repeatedly, it is essential to understand one of its deeper dimensions. Piety does not only mean avoiding what is clearly unlawful. It also includes exercising caution by avoiding certain lawful matters, out of fear that they may gradually lead to what is unlawful. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 187.
These are the limits set by Allah, so do not approach them.
It is noteworthy that Allah, the Exalted, did not merely command people not to cross His limits. Rather, He instructed them not even to approach them. This wording establishes a principle of spiritual protection. Staying at a safe distance from boundaries reduces the risk of falling into what is prohibited. This principle appears elsewhere in the Holy Quran. For example, when addressing the Holy Prophet Adam, peace be upon him, Allah, the Exalted, did not simply forbid eating from the specific tree in paradise. He commanded him not even to approach it. Chapter 7 Al-Araf, verse 19.
And O Adam, dwell, you and your wife in paradise and eat from wherever you will, but do not approach this tree, lest you be among the wrongdoers.
Approaching the tree itself was not the act of disobedience, eating from it was. Yet the command was to avoid even coming near. This demonstrates that protection from sin often requires avoiding its surroundings and pathways. From this, an important reality becomes clear: not every lawful matter must be pursued. Some lawful or neutral matters, particularly vain or purposeless activities, can gradually lead a person toward wrongdoing. Vain speech may begin as harmless conversation, but can slowly develop into backbiting, exaggeration, or lying. Excessive, unnecessary spending may begin as lawful enjoyment, but can evolve into wastefulness, which is sinful. Chapter 17 Al-Isra, verse 27.
Indeed, the wasteful are brothers of the devils, and ever has Satan been to his Lord ungrateful.
Misguidance rarely occurs instantly. It usually unfolds step by step. A person may first become comfortable near wrongdoing, without directly engaging in it. Over time, familiarity weakens resistance, and temptation increases. For instance, a person who frequently accompanies those who drink alcohol, even without participating, is statistically and psychologically more likely to eventually partake than someone who avoids such gatherings entirely. This cautious approach was advised by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, in a hadith recorded in Jami at Tirmidhi, number 2451. He taught that a person cannot attain true piety until they abandon certain lawful matters, out of fear that those matters may lead them to the unlawful. This demonstrates that righteousness involves discipline, foresight, and self-restraint. Therefore, a person striving for steadfast obedience should not only avoid clear prohibitions, but also be mindful of what brings them close to those prohibitions. By limiting vain pursuits and unnecessary indulgence, they protect their heart and maintain clarity. This ensures they use the blessings granted to them, such as time, wealth, energy, and influence, in ways that align with the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Such disciplined living produces balance. A person who avoids excess and guards boundaries maintains a stable mental and emotional state. They correctly prioritize responsibilities, relationships, and spiritual growth. As a result, they prepare properly for accountability on Judgment Day and experience peace of mind in both worlds. In contrast, the one who dismisses the importance of avoiding the boundaries of Allah, the Exalted, may overindulge in lawful but excessive or vain pursuits. Over time, this increases the likelihood of slipping into the unlawful. Such indulgence often leads to misuse of blessings, misplaced priorities, and spiritual neglect. Even if moments of entertainment or pleasure are experienced, the overall result is imbalance, stress, and difficulty. Their mental and emotional state becomes unsettled, their preparation for Judgment Day weakens, and regret eventually follows. History and daily life repeatedly demonstrate that unchecked indulgence, even in lawful matters, can gradually erode discipline and clarity. True piety, therefore, lies not only in avoiding what is clearly forbidden, but also in maintaining a protective distance from anything that threatens one's obedience to Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 18.
Unfear Allah. Indeed, Allah is acquainted with what you do.
Allah, the Exalted, continues to warn those who verbally claim faith not to neglect practical obedience. A declaration alone is not sufficient if it is not supported by action. Persisting in misusing the blessings granted by Allah, the Exalted, such as time, wealth, health, and ability, contradicts the very claim of belief. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 19.
And be not like those who forgot Allah, so He made them forget themselves.
Forgetting Allah, the Exalted, does not necessarily mean denying His existence. Rather, it refers to neglecting His remembrance, ignoring His commands, and living as though accountability does not exist. When a person chooses this path, a severe consequence follows: they forget themselves. This means they lose awareness of their true purpose, neglect what benefits their soul, and harm their own eternal outcome. As a result, such a person develops imbalance. Their priorities become distorted, and they misplace everything and everyone within their life. Temporary matters dominate their thinking, while eternal realities are ignored. This inner disorder often manifests outwardly as stress, anxiety, dissatisfaction, and conflict, even if worldly luxuries are present. Comfort without purpose does not produce peace. Because their lifestyle prevents sincere preparation for Judgment Day, the consequences in the hereafter are far more severe. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 19.
Those are the defiantly disobedient.
It is also important to distinguish between worldly judgment and divine judgment. In this world, a person is legally recognized as a person of faith based on their verbal declaration. Human beings judge by what is outwardly apparent. However, in the hereafter, Allah, the Exalted, will judge each individual according to their inward reality, the sincerity, conviction, and actions that were hidden from others. A person may verbally affirm belief in Allah, the Exalted, and accountability in the hereafter, yet fail to support that affirmation with deeds. If their heart lacks true conviction and submission, their outward claim will not benefit them on Judgment Day. Moreover, neglecting action places one in danger of losing faith altogether before death. Faith is not static. It strengthens with obedience and weakens with persistent disobedience. It resembles a living plant that must be nurtured. Just as a plant deprived of sunlight and water gradually withers, faith deprived of remembrance, repentance, and righteous action gradually fades. If not revived, it may die entirely, resulting in the greatest possible loss. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 19.
Those are the defiantly disobedient.
Therefore, safeguarding faith requires continuous effort. It requires aligning actions with belief, using blessings responsibly, and maintaining awareness of accountability. When belief is supported by consistent obedience, faith grows stronger, clarity increases, and balance is achieved. But when belief remains only words without action, it risks becoming hollow, leaving the person exposed to regret in both worlds. As nothing occurs within the universe except by the will and permission of Allah, the Exalted, the outcome mentioned in the Holy Quran has been attributed to Him. However, it is clear that this outcome is a direct consequence of a person's own persistent choice to disobey. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 19.
And be not like those who forgot Allah, so He made them forget themselves.
When a person practically neglects obedience to Allah, the Exalted, they inevitably forget the true purpose of their creation and the reality of life as a test, whether they will correctly use the blessings they have been granted according to divine teachings. Once this awareness fades, worldly desires and ambitions begin to dominate their thinking and behavior. In this condition, hearing, sight, and intellect remain physically functional, yet spiritually and morally ineffective. These faculties were given so a person may recognize truth, reflect on consequences, and regulate conduct. But when desires take control, clarity is replaced with impulse. Instead of governing their desires, the person becomes governed by them. Desire becomes the master, and the person becomes its servant. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 19.
So he made them forget themselves.
This forgetting is profound. It means losing awareness of what truly benefits or harms one's eternal outcome. This state resembles addiction. An addict may not begin with the intention of losing control, yet once addiction develops, it can overpower rational judgment. Harmful actions may follow, not due to ignorance of consequences, but because craving overrides moral restraint. Similarly, unchecked worldly desires, whether for wealth, status, pleasure, or recognition, can intensify until they become addictions of the heart. Gradually, boundaries are blurred, harmful behavior is justified, and long-term consequences are ignored. A person may then sacrifice health, relationships, dignity, and peace of mind in pursuit of what can never truly satisfy. Beneficial reminders no longer penetrate the heart, clear signs are no longer recognized, and sound reasoning no longer guides decisions. The faculties remain, but their purpose is lost. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 19.
Those are the defiantly disobedient.
Divine guidance therefore emphasizes regulation, not total suppression of desire. Desires are part of human nature, but when pursued without discipline, they distort perception and lead to moral and spiritual decline. Unrestrained indulgence produces imbalance, manifesting as stress, anxiety, restlessness, and dissatisfaction, because the heart was not created to find tranquility in excess. By contrast, when a person disciplines desires and confines themselves to what is lawful, and even then practices moderation, balance is preserved. Hearing absorbs beneficial reminders, sight recognizes meaningful signs, and intellect functions as a guide rather than a servant of impulse. Such discipline protects against destructive cycles of addiction, whether to substances, wealth, status, or any other worldly pursuit. The true danger, therefore, is not the existence of desire, but the absence of self-restraint. When desires rule the heart, guidance becomes obscured. When discipline governs the heart, desires assume their proper place. In that state, a person is able to use their blessings correctly, attain clarity and stability, and achieve lasting peace through a balanced mental and physical state, by correctly placing everything and everyone within their life. One of the central reasons hell and paradise are described so vividly in the Holy Quran is to firmly establish a critical reality in the heart of a person, so that it produces practical change and removes laziness and false security. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 20.
Not equal are the companions of the fire and the companions of paradise. The companions of paradise, they are the attainers of success.
Previous nations fell into error when they belittled these realities, especially hell, and even treated them as matters of mockery. To eliminate this attitude, divine teachings describe the hereafter in powerful and detailed terms. The purpose is not to create despair, but to awaken hearts. Vivid descriptions shake a person out of negligence and remind them that actions have real and lasting consequences. True obedience to Allah, the Exalted, requires more than belief in principle. It requires correctly utilizing the blessings He has granted, time, health, wealth, ability, and intellect, in ways that are pleasing to Him, as outlined in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. When these teachings are internalized, they transform belief into action. Through this awareness, a person is protected from complacency and false hope. They live with sincerity, responsibility, and preparation for accountability. This balanced mindset produces stability. Worldly matters are placed in their proper position, eternal matters are prioritized, and everything and everyone in life is given their correct due. As a result, a balanced mental and physical state is achieved, leading to safety from punishment and true success in both worlds. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 20.
Not equal are the companions of the fire and the companions of paradise. The companions of paradise, They are the attainers of success.
In order to attain the success mentioned in this verse, Allah, the Exalted, has consistently revealed divine guidance throughout history, culminating in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This final guidance was not revealed for a specific era or region, but as a complete and universal code of conduct suitable for all times and circumstances. No matter how advanced a society becomes, and regardless of how much knowledge it acquires in fields such as psychology, medicine, sociology, or neuroscience, it remains beyond human capacity to formulate a flawless code of conduct fully aligned with human nature and capable of addressing every circumstance individuals and societies may face. Human knowledge is limited and continually evolving. Even in understanding something as specific as the functions of various regions of the human brain, humanity is still discovering new information. If understanding a single organ is incomplete, then constructing a perfect moral and social system based on limited knowledge is even more unattainable. Only Allah, the Exalted, possesses complete and perfect knowledge. As the creator of humanity and the universe, His knowledge encompasses the past, present, and future without limitation. He alone fully understands human nature, its strengths, weaknesses, inclinations, and vulnerabilities. Therefore, He alone is perfectly positioned to establish a code of conduct that distinguishes good from evil, beneficial from harmful, and justice from oppression in every era and environment. History clearly shows that whenever this divine guidance was sincerely implemented in individual and collective life, it produced stability, justice, and social harmony. Individuals experienced clarity of purpose and inner balance, while societies witnessed fairness, accountability, and mutual responsibility. This demonstrates that divine law is not merely theoretical, but practical and transformative when applied correctly. For this reason, a person should accept the divine code of conduct with trust and humility, even when certain commands conflict with personal desires. Human desire is not always aligned with true benefit. What appears restrictive may in reality be protective, and what seems demanding may ultimately bring lasting peace. This relationship between divine guidance and the individual resembles that of a wise patient and a skilled physician. The patient may dislike a prescribed treatment or a strict dietary plan, yet they follow it because they trust the physician's expertise and recognize that it serves their long-term well-being. Similarly, divine guidance may sometimes require discipline, sacrifice, or restraint, but it is always rooted in perfect knowledge and wisdom. By adhering to this guidance, a person safeguards themselves from confusion, moral instability, and inner conflict. They attain clarity in distinguishing right from wrong, develop balance in their mental and physical state, and correctly place everything and everyone within their life. In doing so, they move toward genuine success, success defined not merely by worldly achievement, but by lasting peace and accountability fulfilled in both worlds. In order to demonstrate the immense power and transformative effect of the Holy Quran, Allah, the Exalted, presents a profound example. If this revelation had been sent down upon a mountain, solid, massive, and firm, it would have shattered out of awe and fear. If unfeeling stone would respond in such a manner, then a spiritual heart, no matter how hardened through persistent disobedience, is certainly capable of being softened and humbled. Chapter 59, Al-Hashr, verse 21.
If we had sent down this Quran upon a mountain, you would have seen it humbled and coming apart from fear of Allah. And these examples we present to the people that perhaps they will give thought.
This verse demonstrates that the obstacle is not in the power of the message, but in the willingness of the heart to reflect with an open and unbiased mind. The expressions found in the Holy Quran are unmatched in their clarity, precision, and depth. Its meanings are conveyed in a direct and accessible manner, yet they contain layers of wisdom that continue to unfold upon reflection. Its words and verses possess a level of eloquence that no other book can rival. It is entirely free from contradiction, something that cannot be said of the scriptures and teachings of other religions, which contain inconsistencies, alterations, and human interpolations. The Holy Quran recounts the histories of previous nations in remarkable detail, despite the fact that the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, had no formal education in history. It commands every form of goodness and forbids every type of evil, addressing matters that affect individuals as well as those that influence entire societies, so that justice, security, and peace may spread throughout every home and community. Unlike poetry, myths, and fables, the Holy Quran contains no exaggeration, falsehood, or fabrication. Every verse is beneficial and can be practically applied to one's life. Even when the same narrative is repeated, each retelling highlights new lessons of profound importance. Unlike all other books, the Holy Quran never becomes monotonous or tiresome, even when studied repeatedly. It presents promises and warnings and supports them with clear, undeniable proofs. When the Holy Quran discusses concepts that may appear abstract, such as patience, gratitude, or humility, it always provides simple practical methods for implementing them. It encourages humanity to fulfill the purpose of their creation by sincerely obeying Allah, the Exalted, through using the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Him. Through this obedience, individuals attain peace of mind and success in both worlds by achieving a balanced mental and physical state, and by placing everything and everyone in their proper place while preparing adequately for their accountability on the Day of Judgment. The Holy Quran makes the straight path clear and appealing to anyone who seeks true tranquility and real success in both worlds. Because it addresses the very nature of human beings, its guidance is timeless and universally beneficial for every person, place, and generation. It serves as a cure for emotional, economic, and physical difficulties when it is understood and applied correctly. It provides solutions for every problem that individuals or societies may face. History itself testifies to this reality, as the communities that implemented its teachings correctly experienced justice, stability, and prosperity. Centuries have passed, yet not a single letter of the Holy Quran has been altered, for Allah the Exalted promised to preserve it. No other book in human history possesses this quality. Chapter 15 Al-Hashr, verse 9.
Indeed, it is we who sent down the message, i.e. the Quran, and indeed we will be its guardian.
Allah, the Exalted, has addressed the root problems that afflict individuals and societies, and has provided practical remedies for each of them. By correcting these foundational issues, the countless secondary problems that stem from them are automatically resolved. This is how the Holy Quran comprehensively addresses everything a person and a community require in order to succeed in both worlds. Chapter 16 An-Nahl, verse 89.
And we have sent down to you the book as clarification for all things.
This is the greatest and most enduring miracle bestowed by Allah, the Exalted, upon His final holy prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. However, only those who sincerely seek the truth and act upon it will benefit from this miracle. Those who follow their desires, selectively accept its teachings, or distort its guidance will only encounter loss in both worlds. Chapter 17 Al-Isra, verse 82.
And we send down of the Quran that which is healing and mercy for the believers, but it does not increase the wrongdoers except in loss.
Islam consistently calls every person, regardless of their level of education or background, to reflect deeply upon the Holy Quran. Reflection is not restricted to a particular class of people, nor is it limited to scholars alone. Rather, it is a universal invitation addressed to all humanity. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 21.
And these examples we present to the people that perhaps they will give thought.
This verse clearly demonstrates that contemplation is encouraged for the people in general. Therefore, the notion that reflection upon the Holy Quran is reserved exclusively for scholars contradicts the spirit of its message. However, this encouragement must be properly understood. It does not mean that individuals without scholarly training should independently interpret complex verses, derive legal rulings, or issue religious judgments. Such matters require deep knowledge, methodology, and expertise, and approaching them without proper qualification can result in confusion or misguidance. Instead, people should focus their reflection on clear and straightforward teachings, such as the noble qualities that should be adopted and the harmful traits that should be avoided, as described in the Holy Quran. They should contemplate themes like sincerity, patience, gratitude, justice, humility, accountability, and reliance upon Allah, the Exalted. These are matters accessible to every thoughtful reader, and are directly connected to achieving peace of mind in both worlds. When engaging with more complex subjects, individuals should rely on authentic translations and sound commentaries to ensure that their understanding remains aligned with established scholarship. Studying the explanations of reliable scholars protects a person from misunderstanding, while allowing them to benefit from deeper insights. When laypeople approach the Holy Quran through trustworthy translations and explanations, it nurtures love and reverence for Allah, the Exalted. By recognizing the clarity of its proofs and the wisdom within its guidance, faith is strengthened. This understanding cultivates a sincere desire to obey Him, which in turn motivates practical preparation for accountability on Judgment Day. Such preparation involves correctly using the blessings one has been granted, in accordance with divine guidance. The most effective path to sound understanding is studying under the mentorship of a qualified scholar. Direct learning allows for clarification, structured progress, and protection from error. At the same time, knowledge must not remain theoretical. Whatever is learned should be personally reflected upon, so that it transforms character and conduct in daily life. If direct study with a scholar is not possible, then one should turn to reliable interpretations and seek clarification from knowledgeable individuals whenever uncertainty arises. In this way, reflection remains beneficial, safe, and transformative, fulfilling the divine call to think deeply while remaining grounded in authentic understanding. When a person reflects on Islamic teachings with sincerity and an unbiased mind, the truth of its guidance becomes unmistakable. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 22.
He is Allah, other than whom there is no deity.
Islam establishes that the only being worthy of absolute and unconditional obedience in every circumstance is the Creator and Sustainer, Allah the Exalted. In reality, whatever or whoever a person consistently obeys and models their life upon becomes the object of their worship, even if they outwardly deny belief in any deity. Human beings are naturally inclined to follow and submit to something, whether it be other people, social media, fashion, culture, wealth, or even their own desires. Chapter 25 Al-Furqan, verse 43.
Have you seen the one who takes as his God his own desire?
This verse clarifies that true worship is not limited to verbal statements or ritual acts, but is manifested through obedience and submission. To follow one's desires, or blindly adhere to worldly influences, is in effect to worship them. Those who profess faith must therefore support their verbal declaration with sincere action. True faith requires that Allah, the Exalted, be obeyed above all else in every circumstance. This involves using the blessings He has granted, such as wealth, health, knowledge, and influence, in ways that are pleasing to Him, as outlined in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. When a person aligns their actions with this obedience, they achieve balance in their mental and physical state, placing everything and everyone in their rightful place. Such conduct ensures they are adequately prepared for accountability on the Day of Judgment and grants peace of mind in this world, alongside eternal success in the hereafter. Chapter 16 An-Nahl, verse 97.
Whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, we will surely cause him to live a good life, and we will surely give them their reward in the hereafter according to the best of what they used to do.
By contrast, those who reject the oneness of Allah, the Exalted, and submit instead to desires, trends, or worldly influences, will inevitably misuse the blessings they have been entrusted with. This misuse produces imbalance, confusion, and misplaced priorities. Such individuals fail to prepare for their accountability before Allah, the Exalted, and as a result, endure stress, hardship, and difficulty in both worlds, even if they outwardly enjoy certain worldly luxuries. Chapter 20 Taha, verses 124 to 126.
And whoever turns away from my remembrance, indeed he will have a depressed, i.e., difficult life, and we will gather, i.e., raise him on the day of resurrection blind. He will say, My Lord, why have you raised me blind while I was once seeing? Allah will say, Thus did our signs come to you, and you forgot, i.e., disregarded them, and thus will you this day be forgotten.
In essence, obedience is the truest expression of worship. Those who direct their obedience to Allah, the Exalted, secure balance, tranquility, and eternal reward, while those who direct it elsewhere, whether knowingly or unknowingly, find themselves in a state of loss, stress, and spiritual deficiency. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 22.
He is Allah, other than whom there is no deity.
When one observes the creation of the heavens and the earth, along with the countless perfectly balanced systems within them, it becomes unmistakably clear that there is only one who created and sustains the entire universe. Consider, for example, the exact distance of the sun from the earth. Even a slight deviation, whether closer or further, would render the planet uninhabitable. Similarly, the Earth's atmosphere has been crafted with a delicate balance of gases, pressure, and temperature, creating an environment that allows life to thrive in optimal conditions. Every detail, from the composition of the air to the rotation of the planet, demonstrates an unparalleled design. When building even a simple structure, pillars and supports must be strategically placed to maintain stability. Thoughtful planning is essential to ensure safety and durability. If such care is required for a mere building, how could one claim that the heavens and the earth were formed by chance? If they had been created accidentally, imperfections, instability, and chaos would have been inevitable. Yet, what is observed is precision, balance, and harmony, which points to deliberate and perfect planning by the Creator, Allah the Exalted. Chapter 13 Ar-Ra'd, verse 2.
It is Allah who erected the heavens without pillars that you can see.
The sun follows a precise path that ensures a balanced distribution of light and darkness on Earth. The carefully timed durations of days and nights, which vary across seasons, allow humans to maximize the benefit from each period. If days were longer, people would suffer from fatigue and exhaustion. If nights were longer, there would be insufficient time to work, earn a living, or acquire knowledge. And if nights were shorter, individuals would be deprived of necessary rest, undermining their health. Changes in these cycles would also affect crops and the entire food supply chain, threatening the sustenance of humans and animals alike. The flawless operation of these systems highlights the oneness of Allah, the Exalted, since multiple deities with differing intentions would inevitably result in disorder. Chapter 21 Al-Anbiya, verse 22.
Had there been within them, i.e., the heavens and earth gods besides Allah, they both would have been ruined.
The moon reflects sunlight to provide guidance at night, particularly for travelers navigating deserts or oceans, which remains a vital method for transporting goods even today. Its phases govern the tides, and any disruption would drastically affect life on Earth. Combined with the sun, humans can measure time accurately, plan their daily activities, and regulate their lives, another clear sign of divine design. The land on Earth is also perfectly balanced, providing suitable areas for cultivation, habitation, and construction. While high-altitude regions present challenges due to thinner air and rugged terrain, most of the Earth's surface lies at optimal altitudes, making it hospitable. Some regions are naturally inaccessible, preserving resources, yet the majority is easily reachable and usable by humans. Furthermore, essential resources are placed in accordance with their importance. The more vital a resource is for survival, the more accessible it has been made. This thoughtful arrangement cannot be random, and clearly reflects the planning of a creator. The water cycle exemplifies this divine balance. Water evaporates from the seas, rises into the sky, condenses and falls as rain. Mountains neutralize its acidity so that both humans and animals can utilize it safely. Any disruption in this cycle would result in environmental catastrophe. Salt in the oceans prevents contamination from decaying sea life, maintaining a thriving aquatic ecosystem, while allowing ships to navigate efficiently. A slight change in the composition of water would disrupt this delicate balance, making either life within it impossible or navigation unsafe, but never allowing both to coexist. Even today, maritime transport remains the primary means of global trade, demonstrating the enduring importance of this balance. Rainfall itself is carefully regulated. Too little leads to drought and famine, while too much causes destructive flooding. Chapter 23 Al-Mustminin, verse 18.
And we have sent down rain from the sky in a measured amount and settled it in the earth. And indeed, we are able to take it away.
The winds play an equally vital role. They enable wind pollination, which is essential for the reproduction of crops, plants, and trees. Historically, winds were crucial for sailing and continue to influence trade and transportation. They also guide rain clouds to specific regions, distributing water where life depends on it. An imbalance, either absence or excess, would create chaos for the entire creation. When one reflects on the sun, moon, the earth, its landscapes, water systems, winds, and countless other intricately designed and balanced elements, it becomes impossible to deny the existence of a single omnipotent creator who governs everything with absolute precision, wisdom, and care. Every detail, whether large or small, bears testimony to Allah, the Exalted, and His flawless creation. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 22.
He is Allah, other than whom there is no deity.
Not only has Allah, the Exalted, created and perfectly sustains the universe, but He is also fully aware of everything, encompassing both the apparent and the hidden. He knows all that is manifest, such as a person's actions, as well as that which is concealed within the heart, including thoughts, intentions, and unspoken words. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 22.
Knower of the unseen and the witnessed.
This infinite knowledge of Allah, the Exalted, encompasses even the hidden motives, desires, and inclinations of every individual. Yet despite this complete awareness, especially of those wrongful intentions, ill speech, or harmful actions, He continues to bestow His mercy upon creation. This mercy allows people the opportunity to repent, reform, and realign themselves with the straight path. It is a mercy that persists even when individuals falter, reminding them of His compassion and guidance. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 22.
He is the entirely merciful, the especially merciful.
Unlike other religions that sometimes portray God as primarily vengeful, Islam emphasizes the merciful nature of Allah, the Exalted, in His relationship with creation. This reflects the compassionate and facilitative design of the divine code of conduct chosen for humanity, Islam, which prioritizes ease, balance, and well-being. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 185.
Allah intends for you ease and does not intend for you hardship.
The obligations and prohibitions prescribed by Allah, the Exalted, are few in number, yet comprehensive in benefit, aimed at promoting the holistic welfare of a person. Those who understand this truth and sincerely adhere to the teachings of Islam will experience a life guided by mercy and ease in both worlds. This includes achieving mental and physical balance, and placing everything and everyone in their proper context, even if occasional hardships arise along the way. Chapter 16 An-Nahl, verse 97.
Whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, we will surely cause him to live a good life, and we will surely give them their reward in the hereafter according to the best of what they used to do.
However, one must not be misled into thinking that Allah's, the Exalted's, mercy means the absence of consequences for wrongdoing. The existence of hell serves a critical purpose. It ensures that the ultimate justice of Allah, the Exalted, is upheld and that creation fulfills its intended purpose. Without the accountability represented by punishment, the moral and spiritual test of life would be incomplete. Furthermore, treating wrongdoers identically to those who perform righteous deeds would contradict His perfect justice. Chapter 45 Al-Jatiyah, verse 21.
Or do those who commit evils think we will make them like those who have believed and done righteous deeds, make them equal in their life and their death? Evil is that which they judge.
Thus, Islam presents a perfect balance. Allah the Exalted is infinitely merciful yet perfectly just, guiding humanity toward ease and success while upholding accountability for actions. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 23.
He is Allah, other than whom there is no deity.
It is important to understand that false deities, such as idols, are not the only entities that a person may come to worship or obey instead of Allah, the Exalted. In truth, anything that a person obeys in opposition to Allah, such as social media, fashion, culture, wealth, or even other people, becomes an object of their worship in practice. Chapter 9 at Tawbah, verse 31.
They have taken their scholars and monks as lords besides Allah.
In this verse, the scholars and religious leaders of the people of the book were not literal objects of worship. Instead, by obeying them in ways that contravened the commands of Allah, the Exalted, the people treated them as masters, and this act of disobedience was judged as a form of worship. This principle extends to the devil as well. Chapter 36 Yasin, verse 60.
Did I not enjoin upon you, O children of Adam, that you not worship Satan, for indeed he is to you a clear enemy?
While most people have not directly worshipped the devil, many are considered as such because they obey his guidance when it leads them away from Allah, the Exalted. This shows that worship is not limited to formal rituals. It is demonstrated through obedience and submission. When a person persists in disobeying Allah, the Exalted, they inevitably place themselves under the authority of other influences, whether people, social trends, or material pursuits. Attempting to satisfy multiple unjust masters leads to stress, frustration, and imbalance, as it is impossible to meet the demands of all these forces consistently. Much like an employee with several supervisors, a person who turns away from servitude to Allah, the Exalted, becomes overburdened by conflicting expectations, often sacrificing their peace of mind. Over time, this can result in emotional strain, loneliness, depression, or even despair, as the efforts to please worldly masters never bring lasting satisfaction, a truth observable in the lives of many who prioritize worldly influence, including celebrities. Furthermore, obedience to such entities in defiance of Allah, the Exalted, yields no benefit in the hereafter. These worldly masters cannot support a person in their ultimate accountability, leaving them without assistance in the face of divine judgment. The solution is clear. One must abandon obedience to anything that leads to the disobedience of Allah, the Exalted, and instead direct their obedience to Him alone. By correctly using the blessings they have been granted as outlined in Islamic teachings, a person attains true balance, placing everything and everyone in its rightful place, achieving peace of mind in both worlds, and cultivating a stable mental and physical state. As discussed previously, one of the primary reasons aspects of the hereafter, such as hell, are described in vivid detail within Islamic teachings, is to dispel the misconceptions that people develop over time. Another widespread misconception concerns the nature of Allah, the Exalted, and His divine attributes. Islamic teachings carefully explain the names and attributes of Allah, the Exalted, to cultivate correct belief in Him, thereby encouraging sincere obedience by using the blessings He has granted in ways pleasing to Him. Conversely, ignorance of these attributes can foster false beliefs, such as wishful thinking or complacency in disobedience. For example, a person who truly understands that Allah, the Exalted, is all-forgiving will strive diligently to obey Him, earnestly seeking His forgiveness for sins. In contrast, someone who misunderstands or neglects this attribute may persist in wrongdoing, wrongly assuming they will be pardoned regardless of their actions. To avoid such errors, it is essential to study the divine attributes and names of Allah, the Exalted, as revealed in the Holy Quran and explained through the teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 23.
He is Allah, other than whom there is no deity, the King.
This verse makes clear that Allah, the Exalted, possesses complete and perfect sovereignty, free of any deficiency. His rule has no beginning, no end, no limitation, and no reduction. He governs all creation with absolute authority, managing and judging without reliance on any partner or helper. The King cannot be obstructed in executing His will, while every part of creation depends entirely upon Him. Recognizing Allah, the Exalted, as the sole King inherently entails accepting one's role as His servant. A true servant submits fully to the King, fulfilling His commands and avoiding His prohibitions without question, trusting that the King's decrees are always for the servant's benefit. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 216.
But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows while you know not.
When a person acknowledges Allah, the Exalted, as the only King, they turn solely to Him for support and guidance, relying on His protection rather than seeking help from creation. Obeying creation over the Creator leaves one vulnerable, as no created being can shield them from the consequences decreed by the only King. This principle was emphasized by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, in a hadith found in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 2625, where he stated that obedience to creation is forbidden if it leads to disobedience to the Creator. One should strive to reflect this servitude in their inner self by purifying the spiritual heart, which is the inner King, through acting upon the knowledge found in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. When the heart is purified, the limbs of the body follow in righteousness. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, explained in a hadith found in Sahih Muslim, number 4094, that if the spiritual heart is pure, the entire body becomes pure. If it is corrupt, the whole body is affected. One should never allow their lower desires to dominate, but instead govern them with the guidance of Islamic teachings. True kingship is achieved when a person detaches from excessive attachment to worldly things and controls their desires in accordance with divine principles. Whoever perfects this inner discipline and servitude will be granted a spiritual kingdom in both worlds. The ultimate reward for fulfilling the rights of the king by perfecting servanthood is described in the Holy Quran. The believer will attain a high station in the presence of the one omnipotent king, experiencing both spiritual elevation and eternal success. Chapter 54 Al-Qiyamah, verse 55.
In a seat of honor near a sovereign, perfect in ability.
Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 23.
The Holy.
In relation to Allah, the Exalted, the term signifies the one who is entirely sanctified, free from any flaw, deficiency, or imperfection, and who transcends all attributes of perfection. Allah, the Exalted, embodies absolute purity, majesty, and wisdom, and His nature is beyond all human comprehension or comparison. Understanding this truth encourages a person to approach life with humility, awareness, and a sincere desire for spiritual growth. A person should earnestly turn to Allah, the Exalted, seeking purification and sanctification from all sins and requesting that He bestow upon them the attributes He loves. This purification is both spiritual and practical. One must strive to cleanse the body from sinful actions, avoiding any behavior that contradicts divine guidance. Similarly, a person should guard their desires, preventing evil inclinations from influencing their choices or controlling their life. Wealth and resources must be sought and used lawfully, ensuring they are free from doubtful or prohibited sources. The mind and heart should be protected from heedlessness, distraction, and forgetfulness of divine guidance, so that every thought and intention aligns with what is pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. Purifying intentions is equally essential. Every act, even those that appear purely worldly, such as earning a living, providing for family, or contributing to society, should be performed with the conscious aim of fulfilling the pleasure of Allah, the Exalted. When done sincerely, these acts are not only lawful but are also recorded as righteous deeds, contributing to both spiritual development and practical goodness in the world. This holistic approach ensures that a person's life becomes a reflection of balance and harmony, where physical, mental, and spiritual dimensions are all aligned in a meaningful way. Such comprehensive guidance underscores that spiritual purification is not limited to ritual worship alone, but encompasses every aspect of daily life, including actions, thoughts, and social responsibilities. The importance of this principle is confirmed in a hadith found in Sahih Bukhari, number 4006, which teaches that sincere purification and obedience to Allah, the Exalted, transform ordinary actions into enduring sources of spiritual merit. Through this process, a person attains both inner peace in this life and readiness for accountability on the Day of Judgment. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 23.
The Giver of Peace.
In respect to Allah, the Exalted, this can signify the one who bestows peace upon all creation, in both this world and the hereafter. Peace, in this sense, is both a gift from Allah, the Exalted, and a standard for human conduct. Those who seek to emulate this divine attribute are encouraged to become a source of peace themselves, through both words and actions. A person should first embody this characteristic through their speech, by spreading greetings of peace to all individuals, whether familiar or strangers. According to a hadith found in Jami at Tirmidhi, number 2688, a person will not enter paradise until they truly believe, and they will not truly believe until they love others for the sake of Allah, the Exalted. This love is cultivated when individuals actively extend greetings of peace to one another. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, further emphasized in a hadith found in Al-Mujam al-Kabir, number 10391, that as salam is a blessed name of Allah, the Exalted, placed on earth. By greeting others with peace, a person spreads this divine blessing and actively participates in manifesting the attribute of Allah, the Exalted, in daily life. The spreading of peace should not be limited to formal greetings alone, but should permeate all speech throughout the day, regardless of the person one is conversing with. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, explained in a hadith found in Sunan and Nasai, number 4998, that a person cannot be regarded as truly faithful until others are safe from their words. This encompasses avoiding gossip, harmful speech, slander, or any language that might distress or harm others. Beyond words, peace must be reflected in actions. The same hadith emphasizes that a person of true faith does not unjustly harm others, and extends this protection to the property and rights of others. Islamic teachings further extend this principle to all creatures, including animals, as confirmed in a hadith found in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 2550. By showing kindness and mercy to all living beings, one mirrors the attribute of Allah, the Exalted, as the source of peace in the universe. Peace must also be internal, meaning that a person should actively work to remove envy, malice, ill will, and other defects from their heart. A heart free of these flaws is more receptive to spiritual growth, and allows one to embody the qualities of compassion, patience, and justice. Chapter 26 Ash-Shu'ara, verses 88 to 89.
The day when there will not benefit anyone wealth or children, but only one who comes to Allah with a sound heart.
Ultimately, the one who seeks to attain peace in both worlds must combine outward expressions of peace with sincere obedience to Allah, the Exalted. This involves using the blessings they have been granted in ways that are pleasing to Him, thereby achieving peace of mind in both worlds, through obtaining a balanced mental and physical state, and through correctly placing everything and everyone within their life. Chapter 16 An-Nahl, verse 97.
Whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, we will surely cause him to live a good life, and we will surely give them their reward in the hereafter according to the best of what they used to do.
And chapter 20 Taha, verse 124.
And whoever turns away from my remembrance, indeed he will have a depressed life.
Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 23.
The faithful.
This divine name carries multiple dimensions of meaning. One aspect is that the faithful is the one who instills true faith in people. He is also the protector of those who are faithful to him, granting security and safety both in this world and in the hereafter. Indeed, all genuine protection, comfort, and stability in life comes solely from Allah, the Exalted, the Lord of the worlds. Those who desire this protection must remain faithful to the covenant of obedience they have taken with Allah, the Exalted. This covenant involves fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and accepting destiny with patience and trust in His wisdom. In return, Allah, the Exalted, promises to safeguard and support them in every circumstance. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 40.
Fulfill my covenant upon you, that I will fulfill your covenant from me.
And chapter 65 At-Talaq, verse 2.
And whoever fears Allah, He will make for him a way out.
Faithfulness extends beyond the relationship with Allah, the Exalted, to interactions with His creation. One cannot claim to be faithful to Allah while mistreating or deceiving others. Treating people with kindness, fulfilling promises, and protecting others from harm, whether verbal or physical, are integral expressions of faithfulness. This principle is emphasized in a hadith found in Sunan and Nasai, number 4998, which explains that a true faithful person is one whose words and actions do not bring harm to others. Furthermore, a faithful person encourages others to seek the protection and mercy of Allah, the Exalted, through sincere obedience and guides them away from disobedience. By being faithful both to Allah and to His creation, an individual aligns their life with divine guidance, ensuring security, peace, and balance in both worlds, while fostering a community built on trust, compassion, and righteousness. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 23.
The overseer.
This divine attribute can be understood to mean that the vision of Allah, the Exalted, encompasses all things, regardless of their size, location, or hidden nature. In addition, Allah, the Exalted, is an ever-present witness to the actions of all creation. He observes not only outward physical deeds, but also the inner intentions and thoughts of every individual. Nothing, whether apparent or concealed, can escape his all-encompassing sight. A person should therefore strive to live in obedience to Allah, the Exalted, aspiring to reach the level of awareness where they are constantly mindful of His divine vision. This elevated state is described as the excellence of faith in a hadith found in Sahih Muslim, number 99. When an individual attains such awareness, it serves as a powerful safeguard against sin and a motivating force to engage in righteous actions consistently. One should act as a vigilant overseer of their own soul, continually evaluating and reflecting upon their behavior to avoid heedlessness, the primary cause of wrongdoing. By holding oneself accountable in this manner, a person ensures that their deeds are conducted with sincerity and mindfulness, making their ultimate accountability on Judgment Day far easier. Conversely, those who fail to monitor themselves carefully risk committing sins unconsciously, without recognizing the consequences of their actions. Moreover, a person bears responsibility over those under their care, ensuring their guidance and welfare in accordance with the commands of Allah, the Exalted. This includes advising, teaching, and protecting them from harm, whether physical or moral. This principle is reinforced in a hadith found in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 2928, which underscores the importance of vigilance and responsibility over one's dependents as part of one's obedience to Allah, the Exalted. In this way, living with constant awareness of the divine vision cultivates a balanced life, strengthens moral discipline, and aligns all actions with the expectations of Allah, the Exalted, while preparing one for accountability in both worlds. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 23.
The Almighty.
Allah, the Exalted, is the one who overpowers all things, the only true possessor of absolute power and might. Any strength or authority observed in creation exists solely because Allah, the Exalted, grants it. There is no particle, no atom in this world or in the next that can escape His power and authority. Nothing occurs without His permission and control. Since all power belongs to Allah, the Exalted, a person should constantly remember that the strength to perform righteous deeds and to refrain from sin comes entirely from Him. Awareness of this truth prevents pride or arrogance from taking root in the heart, for even the smallest action can have eternal consequences if performed with intention contrary to the guidance of Allah, the Exalted. This is confirmed in a hadith found in Sahih Muslim, number 266, which warns that even the weight of an atom in sin can lead a person to hell. Anyone who desires to strengthen their faith must submit fully to the Almighty, Allah, the Exalted. Through sincere obedience, they are granted firm faith that supports them in overcoming every challenge, ensuring they leave this world with the pleasure of Allah, the Exalted. True obedience is found in following the example of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This includes fulfilling the commands of Allah, the Exalted, refraining from His prohibitions, and exercising patience when facing destiny. Chapter 3 Ali Imran, verse 31.
Say, if you should love Allah, then follow me, so Allah will love you and forgive you your sins.
Truly understanding that Allah, the Exalted, is Almighty should deter a person from committing sin. They must recognize that there is no escape from His might or authority. Engraving this awareness in the heart also prevents oppression and injustice toward others. A person becomes fully conscious that even if no human being is capable of holding them accountable, Allah, the Exalted, will ensure justice is served, both in this world and on Judgment Day. As confirmed in a hadith found in Sahih Muslim, number 6579, oppression toward others may result in being cast into hell by the Almighty, Allah, the Exalted, on the Day of Judgment. By internalizing the might of Allah, the Exalted, and submitting to Him with sincerity, a person develops vigilance over their actions and intentions, strengthens their faith, and cultivates a heart that avoids pride, sin, and wrongdoing. This understanding safeguards both worldly conduct and preparedness for accountability in the hereafter. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 23.
The Compeller.
This divine name can signify the one who exerts unparalleled force to accomplish His will. This power belongs solely to Allah, the Exalted, as no strength, might, or force exists except by His permission and command. When a person truly understands that Allah, the Exalted, is the Compeller, they will have no fear of anything in creation, for all events unfold only by His will. This awareness inspires hope, as they know that no matter the trials or difficulties they encounter, if they remain obedient to Allah, the Exalted, by fulfilling His commands, avoiding His prohibitions, and exercising patience in the face of destiny, He will grant them success in one way or another. No force in creation can obstruct the decree of Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 65 at Talaq, verse 2.
And whoever fears Allah, He will make for him a way out.
Reflecting on this divine name also acts as a deterrent from sin. When a person internalizes that no matter how secure they feel from the judgment of people, no one can shield them from the justice of the compeller, they become more conscious of their actions and intentions. A person should embody this divine name by compelling themselves to obey Allah, the Exalted, at all times, striving to overcome their own evil desires in awareness of the unmatched force behind Allah, the Exalted's punishment. Conversely, no harmful entity can overpower a servant who is sincerely obedient to Allah, the Exalted, for they are granted strength directly from the compeller himself. Chapter 15 Al-Hijr, verse 42.
Indeed, my servants, no authority will you have over them.
By keeping the awareness of Allah, the Exalted, as the compeller in mind, a person strengthens their resolve to act righteously, maintains vigilance over their deeds, and gains reassurance that their obedience aligns them with the power of the One who governs all things. This not only safeguards them from sin, but also ensures that they are firmly supported by the might of Allah, the Exalted, in both their spiritual and worldly endeavors. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 23.
The proud.
Pride belongs exclusively to Allah, the Exalted, because of His absolute and limitless majesty, greatness, glory, and magnificence, attributes that are entirely free from any flaw or deficiency. His perfection is complete in every sense, and therefore true pride is only befitting for Him. No created being has any right to adopt pride, for in reality, nothing they possess originates from themselves. Every blessing, whether knowledge, ability, wealth, status, inspiration, strength, or the opportunity to perform righteous deeds and refrain from sin, has been created and granted solely by Allah the Exalted. Recognizing this reality removes any foundation for arrogance. Pride must be strictly avoided, as even an atom's weight of it can lead to destruction in the hereafter. This is confirmed in a hadith found in Sahih Muslim, number 266. Since pride befits only Allah, the Exalted, a person should instead cultivate humility. True humility is demonstrated by fulfilling the commands of Allah, the Exalted, refraining from His prohibitions, and responding to destiny with patience and contentment. This attitude reflects sincere servanthood to Allah, the Exalted, which is among the highest ranks a person can attain. Servanthood is not a position of weakness. Rather, it is a position of honor, as it signifies willing submission to the One who is perfect in every way. Whoever humbles themselves sincerely for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, will be elevated in rank by Him. This is confirmed in a hadith found in Sahih Muslim, number 6592. Such humility should be shown toward others without displaying weakness or compromising principles. A person must never consider themselves superior to anyone else, as the final outcome of their own life and that of others remains unknown. Many who appear insignificant may ultimately be raised high, while those who appear elevated may fall. An essential component of humility is accepting the truth and acting upon it, regardless of who conveys it. Rejecting truth out of ego or dismissing others due to status contradicts genuine humility. When a person recognizes that all honor, elevation, and success lie solely with Allah, the Exalted, they naturally detach from arrogance and instead seek closeness to Him through modesty, gratitude, and obedience. The few divine names and attributes discussed so far are more than sufficient for a person to realize that obedience belongs solely to Allah, the Exalted. When one reflects on His absolute power, perfect knowledge, complete authority, unmatched might, and supreme majesty, it becomes clear that no one else deserves unconditional obedience. All others are dependent, limited, and in need, while Allah, the Exalted, is independent and perfect. However, because obedience to Allah, the Exalted, often conflicts with worldly desires, ambitions, and social pressures, many people persist in obeying creation in matters that involve disobedience to Him. They may follow cultural trends, influential figures, personal desires, or societal expectations even when these contradict divine guidance. In doing so, they elevate the command of creation above the command of the Creator, which is a grave error. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 23.
Glorified is Allah above whatever they associate with Him.
Associating partners with Allah, the Exalted, is not confined to acts of worship alone. It also includes granting others a degree of obedience that rivals or overrides His commands. One who truly honors and glorifies Allah, the Exalted, does not elevate any person's instruction above divine guidance. However, if someone persists in disobedience, they inevitably misuse the blessings entrusted to them. This misuse results in mental and physical imbalance, the misplacement of priorities and relationships within life, and neglect in preparing for accountability on the Day of Judgment. The consequence is ongoing stress, hardship, and inner unrest in both this world and the hereafter, even if outwardly such a person appears to enjoy certain worldly comforts. In order to avoid this outcome, a person must sincerely accept Allah the Exalted as their Lord and obey Him in every circumstance. No one else deserves to be obeyed unconditionally, as no created being possesses His perfect and divine attributes. Every other authority is limited, dependent, and subject to error, whereas Allah, the Exalted, is perfect in knowledge, wisdom, and power. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 24.
He is Allah, the Creator, the Maker, the Fashioner.
The Creator is the one who brings something into existence from nothing. In reality, there is no true Creator except Allah, the Exalted, as He alone creates independently and without assistance. Every other being is entirely dependent upon Him. What people describe as invention or production is, in truth, only the rearrangement of materials and abilities that were already created by Allah, the Exalted. No one invents or produces except through the ability, resources, and opportunity granted by Him. Chapter 37 As-Safat, verse 96.
While Allah created you and that which you do.
The Maker is the one who arranges creation and prepares it to receive the specific form and characteristics that He has chosen for it. This connects directly to the name the Fashioner, who gives each created being its distinct appearance, features, and qualities according to divine wisdom. The Creator brings things into existence. The Maker determines their structure, timing, and arrangement. The Fashioner assigns their unique form and identity. All of this unfolds according to the will and wisdom of Allah, the Exalted, without randomness or error. After reflecting on these divine names, a person must place complete trust in Allah, the Exalted, in every situation. If He created and sustains the entire universe with perfect order, then resolving the difficulties of an individual is effortless for Him. These names also demonstrate that Allah, the Exalted, not only creates but chooses and decrees all matters. Therefore, challenging His decree or questioning His wisdom only leads to frustration and spiritual harm. It is far better to submit with patience and obedience, trusting that Allah, the Exalted, decrees only what is ultimately best for His servants, even when the wisdom behind events is not immediately apparent. Human perception is limited and short-sighted, whereas the knowledge and wisdom of Allah, the Exalted, are infinite. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 216.
But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows while you know not.
Recognizing Allah, the Exalted, as the Creator, the Maker, and the Fashioner nurtures humility, strengthens trust, and encourages patience. It reminds a person that their role is not to dispute divine decree, but to respond with obedience, reliance, and confidence in the flawless wisdom of the One who created them and all that they do. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 24.
To Him belong the best names.
In a hadith found in Sahih Bukhari, number 2736, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that whoever knows the 99 names of Allah the Exalted will enter paradise. As previously explained, knowing these names does not simply mean memorizing them. Rather, it involves understanding their meanings, reflecting upon them, and striving to act in accordance with them according to one's human capacity and limitations. True knowledge is transformative. It shapes belief, character, and conduct. For example, Allah, the Exalted, is the most merciful in a manner that befits His infinite and perfect status. His mercy encompasses all creation, and He continually bestows countless blessings and kindness upon them. A form of mercy has also been attributed to the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Chapter 9 at Tawbah, verse 128.
There has certainly come to you a messenger from among yourselves. Grievous to him is what you suffer. He is concerned over you, i.e., your guidance, and to the believers is kind and merciful.
When mercy is attributed to a created being, it refers to compassion, gentleness, and softness of heart. Thus, a person adopts this attribute by showing kindness, empathy, and concern for others, seeking reward from Allah, the Exalted. Similarly, Allah, the Exalted, is the all-forgiving in a way that reflects His absolute perfection. He forgives sins repeatedly and generously. A person is encouraged to reflect this quality within their limited human scope, by pardoning others for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, without harboring resentment or seeking revenge, after taking steps to protect themselves from future harm. Chapter 24 and Nur, verse 22.
And let them pardon and overlook. Would you not like that Allah should forgive you?
In this way, the divine attributes of Allah, the Exalted, can be adopted by a person according to their status and ability, without resembling or equating themselves to Him. The servant remains a servant, and Allah, the Exalted, remains perfect and unique. Therefore, a person must begin by seeking a sound and correct understanding of the divine names and attributes. With that foundation, they should strive to reflect those meanings in daily life, through deliberate effort and consistent practice. Gradually, these qualities become firmly established within the spiritual heart, and manifest as refined and noble character. When character is shaped in this way, the blessings granted by Allah, the Exalted, are used in a manner that pleases Him, in accordance with the guidance of the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. As a result, such a person attains peace of mind in both worlds, develops a balanced mental and physical state, and places every responsibility and relationship within life in its proper order. Chapter 16 and Nahl, verse 97.
Whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, we will surely cause him to live a good life, and we will surely give them their reward in the hereafter according to the best of what they used to do.
Allah, the Exalted, then presents a living example of the peace, balance, and harmony that arise from obedience to Him. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 24.
Whatever is in the heavens and earth is glorifying Him.
This harmony becomes evident when one reflects upon the creation within the universe. The precise rising and setting of the sun, the consistent phases of the moon, and the countless planets that remain perfectly within their designated orbits, all demonstrate a flawless system. There is no chaos, confusion, or rebellion within the natural order. Each part of creation fulfills its role in complete submission to the command of Allah, the Exalted. This universal balance exists because the creation does not resist divine decree. It neither competes with nor challenges the will of Allah, the Exalted. Instead, it functions exactly as it was designed, glorifying Him through its state of obedience. In contrast, such harmony is often absent from human life. When a person refuses to submit fully to the obedience of Allah, the Exalted, imbalance enters their existence. Desires conflict with guidance, ambitions clash with morality, and inner unrest replaces tranquility. The disorder seen in individual lives and societies stems from this departure from divine obedience. Therefore, if a person seeks to attain the harmony and balance they observe in the universe, they must follow the example set by the rest of creation by sincerely obeying Allah, the Exalted, in all circumstances. This includes using every blessing they have been granted, such as time, wealth, health, and knowledge, in ways that align with the teachings of the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Through such obedience, a person brings structure to their thoughts, discipline to their actions, and purpose to their existence. Their mental and physical states become aligned with divine guidance, placing every aspect of their life in its proper position. At the same time, they prepare themselves for their accountability on the Day of Judgment. As a result, this sincere submission produces inner tranquility in this world, and lasting peace in the hereafter. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 24.
Whatever is in the heavens and earth is glorifying him.
Since nothing within the universe occurs except by the will and decree of Allah, the Exalted, including every hardship and difficulty a person encounters, it is essential to glorify Him by refraining from attributing negativity, injustice, or deficiency to Him. Allah, the Exalted, is perfect in wisdom, knowledge, and mercy, even when that wisdom is not immediately apparent to human understanding. One of the most effective ways to uphold this glorification is by cultivating a positive and balanced mindset. A positive mindset is not denial of hardship. Rather, it is the conscious decision to interpret events through trust in the wisdom of Allah, the Exalted. This mindset becomes a powerful tool in navigating challenges while remaining obedient to Him. True obedience means using the blessings He has granted, such as health, wealth, time, and ability, in ways that please Him, as outlined in the Holy Quran and the teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. When hardship strikes, a person should remind themselves that the situation could always have been more severe. If the difficulty is worldly in nature, they should feel grateful that it has not harmed their faith or relationship with Allah, the Exalted. Worldly matters, no matter how painful, are temporary, whereas faith and accountability on the Day of Judgment are everlasting. Instead of focusing solely on the immediate discomfort of a trial, one should reflect upon the immense reward promised to those who show patience for the sake of Allah, the Exalted. Patience transforms suffering into elevation. Likewise, when certain blessings are lost, attention should be redirected toward the countless blessings that remain. This shift in focus nurtures gratitude rather than despair. In every trial, one should recall the guidance of the Holy Quran that reminds humanity that hidden wisdom often lies within events that appear unfavorable at first glance. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 216.
But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows while you know not.
By contemplating these realities, a person develops resilience, gratitude, and trust. This positive mindset safeguards the heart from resentment and despair, ensuring that Allah, the Exalted, is glorified properly, free from any negative attribution. In essence, the perspective shifts from seeing the cup as half empty to recognizing that it is, in truth, half full, and that even what appears missing may itself be part of a greater wisdom yet to unfold. Chapter 59 Al-Hashr, verse 24.
And He is the Exalted in might, the wise.
In conclusion, a person must accept and act upon Islamic teachings for their own benefit, even when those teachings conflict with personal desires. True guidance is not always aligned with immediate comfort. Just as a wise and patient individual accepts the medical advice of a qualified doctor, despite being prescribed bitter medicine or a strict diet, because they trust it will restore their health, similarly a person must accept divine guidance knowing it leads to overall well-being. The patient may dislike the treatment, yet they understand that discipline leads to recovery. In the same manner, the one who accepts and lives by Islamic teachings attains balance in both mental and physical states. This is because the only one who possesses complete knowledge of human nature, its strengths, weaknesses, needs, and vulnerabilities, is Allah, the Exalted. Only He knows how to correctly position every aspect of a person's life, and how to establish true equilibrium within it. Human knowledge, no matter how advanced, remains limited. Despite extensive research and intellectual effort, society cannot provide solutions for every challenge a person faces. Human advice cannot eliminate all forms of stress, nor can it perfectly guide someone in placing everything and everyone in their proper position within life. This limitation stems from restricted knowledge, incomplete foresight, personal bias, and changing perspectives. Allah, the Exalted, alone possesses absolute knowledge. Out of mercy, He has granted guidance to humanity through the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. When one observes those who utilize their blessings according to Islamic teachings and compares them to those who do not, the difference in inner stability, purpose, and direction becomes clear. Although many patients do not fully understand the scientific details behind their prescribed medication, and therefore trust their doctor based on expertise, Allah, the Exalted, does not demand blind following. Rather, he invites reflection, contemplation, and insight. He calls upon people to examine the teachings of Islam and recognize their truth through clear signs and proofs. Chapter 12 Yusuf, verse 108.
Say, this is my way, I invite to Allah with insight, I and those who follow me.
This verse highlights that the path to Allah, the Exalted, is based on clarity and understanding, not ignorance or blind imitation. However, recognizing this truth requires sincerity, fairness, and an open mind free from prejudice when approaching divine guidance. Furthermore, as Allah the Exalted alone controls the spiritual hearts, the true abode of peace and contentment, He alone grants inner tranquility to whom He wills. Chapter 53 and Najm, verse 43.
And that it is He who makes one laugh and weep.
Therefore, lasting balance, clarity, and serenity are not achieved through unrestricted desire or purely human systems of thought. They are attained through conscious submission to the guidance of Allah, the Exalted, who alone knows what reforms the heart, stabilizes the mind, and secures success in both this world and the hereafter. Chapter 16 and Nahl, verse 97.
Whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, we will surely cause him to live a good life, and we will surely give them their reward in the hereafter according to the best of what they used to do.
All praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, and may peace and blessings be upon His final messenger, Muhammad, his noble family and companions.